580 Sports Talk going up on a Tuesday live from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. I'm Brendan Dworzinski. Next to me today in studio, Spencer Dupuis. Trenton Kraxner, our summer intern, is across the glass. Dan Lucero is here. He will be with us in just a moment, dealing with some top secret responsibilities today. It's really not top secret, but he's working on an interview. He'll be back with us coming up in just a little bit. Plenty to get to on 580 Sports Talk today. The Royals, they are back in the win column. Victory is back on the menu for the boys in blue. We will get to that win yesterday over the Miami Marlins here in just a second. Also, some trade deadline thoughts, what the Royals really can afford to give up to move around at the deadline. Also, Chris Bubich is going to return in the bullpen, at least to start off his rehab assignment. So we will get to that and what that means for the Royals going forward in the bullpen here in this first hour. Plus, Jeff Passan from ESPN.com. He has a current Los Angeles Angel as the best deadline fit for the Royals. That's coming up later on in this opening hour. Plenty of Royals baseball to lead off the show today. We'll talk some NFL in the 3 o'clock hour. Mike Jones, who is Mike Jones, of The Athletic, he came up with a list of the most underrated and overrated teams in the NFL. Unsurprisingly, the Chiefs are nowhere to be found on that list. But did he get them correct? We will touch on that. We're going to draft Big 12 quarterbacks in the 4 o'clock hour today. We were having the Garrett Green discussion yesterday again, which is very funny. He's not a bad player by any means, but the idea that he's the fourth best quarterback in the Big 12 is hysterical. So we're actually going to draft starting quarterbacks from the Big 12. And we're going to see who can come up with the best stable of quarterbacks. That'll be in the 4 o'clock hour today. Michael Swain is going to join us for Jayhawk Weekly, bottom of the 4 o'clock hour. We've got our 580 Sports Talk headlines to get to. We'll preview Royals Marlins tonight. It's all coming up on this 4-hour full afternoon edition of 580 Sports Talk. We want you to be a part of the show. Top City Metal Supply text line number, as always, is 785-272-9429. And you can find us on YouTube. 580 Sports Talk is the name of our YouTube channel. If you haven't subscribed yet, we implore you to do so. You can see all of our video content, including all of our daily streams, over on the 580 Sports Talk YouTube. And on July 8th, 13 days from now, 2 weeks from yesterday, we will be live streaming on the 580 Sports Talk YouTube the 580 Sports Talk Olympics. We will be participating in feats of physical strength and endurance. We've got to come up with a list of what we actually want to do.
Have we set that up yet?
What time are we doing that too?
Well, yeah, we'll have to find when during the day we are actually going to do these physical feats of strength and endurance.
I think the busiest person that day is probably me.
Yeah, you've got responsibility during the day, so we'll find a way to make it work. We'll get it all figured out.
It's also a Monday too, so
I think we also should crowdsource what sort of events we want to do.
Let's do it.
Dan's here, by the way.
I agree. Good take, guys. No, I was thinking that too regarding the 580 Sports Talk Olympics, that we should ask the people what physical challenges we should undertake.
We do have to do
Do not ask us to do a triathlon. That is not happening.
No, we ain't doing that. We have to do the 100.
Yes, the 100 for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe like a throwing event.
I was thinking shot put, but on the other hand, maybe we should do discus, aka maybe we should do frisbee throw.
Or just throw like a football or
we can do
or
that.
a softball or a baseball,
right.
Something like that, where the technique is not something that we would need to take a crash course in.
That can be our triathlon. Is you throw a football, then a baseball, then you have to launch a soccer ball or something.
Or frisbee.
Yeah.
No, I suck at frisbee. I'm horrible at frisbee.
Look, none of us are good at any of these things.
No,
Spencer.
like
That's
every
why
time
we're here.
Every time I throw a frisbee, people are like, learn how
to.
to throw a frisbee, and I could never learn how to throw a frisbee. So I'm out on the frisbee. I don't know. I always did it wrong.
That's really funny. It's very simple. I can show you if you like.
Well, when I would do it would just go right here.
Throw a frisbee.
Look,
you can throw it underhand. You can throw it overhand.
Look, I'd throw it this way, and somehow it would wind up over here.
You're holding on to it too long.
Yeah, it's about the release point.
Solved.
All right, maybe we have to put this in.
Yes, 100%.
More than anything, I just want to see what is going wrong with your frisbee throw. So we'd love to get your take. What should we do for the 580 Sports Talk Olympics? Let us know. Text line, YouTube comments, We'll put the best ones together, and we will do those on July 8th. And again, we will live stream that on the 580 Sports Talk YouTube channel.
I'm glad I couldn't get roasted by my girlfriend there because she currently doesn't have Wi-Fi, so she's not watching the show today.
To insult you for not knowing how to throw a Frisbee?
Yeah, or just what I was just doing by going like this.
Also, do not forget, because I haven't told you yet, so you haven't had a chance to forget, we got Royals tickets to give away today for Thursday. That will be game 1 against the Guardians. Game 1 of that series, 300 level seats, a pair of seats to give away, and that'll come up later on in the show. So be listening for your chance to win a pair of Royals versus Guardians tickets from the DM Injury Law Royals ticket window coming up later on this afternoon. But while we start today with the Kansas City Royals, it's not about future games. It's about last night's game. Back in the win column. The Royals are back. Maybe not quite.
You're hearing it more and more.
But it was nice to see a somewhat more complete game. It did not start off well. Things did not look especially pretty in the very early goings in the game. Even fell behind 1-0 at one point. But then the bats started to come alive a little bit. Royals were able to put 4 up on the board. I think you can spin the production last night offensively. I don't have a whole lot to say about Cole Reagans. Cole Reagans is awesome. He was awesome last night.
A lot to say about Cole Reagans.
I mean, you can talk about how awesome he is.
I think like he few too many pitches, but that also happens when you have as many strikeouts as he
right,
did.
exactly.
Like ideally, you try to really want him. If you're wanting the team to come out of the slump, you want your pitcher to be on his best, which strikeout numbers great, only allowed a couple hits, a couple walks. Maybe you hoped he would have gone into the 7th inning, but luckily your bullpen didn't come back and bite you.
6 is the magic number, right? Like we were talking about yesterday. When the Royals get their starter through 6, they don't tax their bullpen as heavily, and that's going to give them a chance. And there was some concern there. The 3rd and the 4th inning got a little bumpy, and not because Reagans was like all over the place. There were a couple of cheap hits there in the 4th inning. There were 2 out, nobody on, and Lopez and Gordon had end of the bat hits, and Manuel Rivera worked the walk, but they struck out Fortes. He had the 18 OPS plus. Got him swinging to end that inning. The 3rd inning was kind of taxing too. 2 out walk to a guy that doesn't walk much in Jazz Chisholm, and then the double by Dela Cruz. That was the one inning I didn't like from Reagans because those are the only 2 guys in this lineup that are going to hurt you, and he let them hurt them and put the Royals behind, which was it's not an ideal place to be for a team that's been struggling. But he got his footing back. His pitch count was high after 5, but they ran him back out there for the 6th. And even after the leadoff walk, he was able to retire the final 3 batters in order and finish off that 6th inning. He had last night 25 swinging strikes, according to Baseball Reference. I heard that number at 27 in some other places too. 25 swinging strikes. That is a stupid high number.
Yeah, it's a ton.
He faced 25 hitters. 25 swinging strikes. That is a really, really high number. It shows you how good the stuff was, particularly the changeup to right-handed hitters. That's a conversation for another day, but who's got the better changeup on this staff, Reagans or Waka?
It might be Reagans.
By the numbers, I think it's Waka, but like Reagans just wipes out righties with that changeup. He about made Jake Berger retire from baseball on the spot. He bullied him with changeups last night. So ace outing from your number 1 guy. You needed him to be a stopper. He was. And then the pitcher who gave up 3 home runs per 9 coming in gave up exactly 3 home runs.
Yes, very fitting. I'm glad we saw some power last night. Good. A plus with that.
Still not hitting with runners in scoring position.
Exactly what I was thinking. I think there's a way to both positively and negatively spin the offensive production from last night. The positive is, hey, you still didn't hit with runners in scoring position, but we're able to find a way to A, get the power back, and B, win a game and do enough offensively. Good thing. We still have some room to grow, but we've gotten better. Awesome, positive step. The negative spin is you cannot win every game just hitting solo home runs. That's not a really sustainable way to win a whole lot of ball games. And you went 1 for 8 with runners in scoring position. Shout out to Kyle Isbell for being the one guy who was able to get a hit with runner on second or third base.
Do you want to know what the number is dropped to, guys?
When is the starting point now?
June 10th.
June 10th. I mean, it's got to be down to about 145 batting average with runners in scoring position.
153.
153. That's crap.
Yeah, not real good.
And that's with it's 152.9 or 152.9. So
a round up. Okay.
The especially frustrating inning was the fifth when it looked like you had Munoz on the ropes after scoring 3 times in the fourth. Bobby Witt has the leadoff double, and then Pasquantino flies out, Salvi grounds out, Massey strikes out, and that was a disappointing end of that. That's where you really wanted to throw the knockout blow. Had an opportunity to do it third time for the lineup facing a guy with an ERA of well over 5. And couldn't quite deliver the finishing blow there. Hunter Renfroe hit a ball to the moon in the 6th, and that was the final run of the night and would end up being the last one they needed. But the thing about home runs, even if they are solo home runs, they can feel like a catharsis for an offense that had scored in 72 hours. Mm-hmm. Like you could sense after the Pasquantino home run, like a collective sigh of relief in that ballpark. And not just the fans either. I think from the dugout, you could sense a bit of a sigh of relief. Like, okay, we do remember how to score runs. We are back on the board. And then one pitch later, Salvador Perez makes it 2-0 and drives in his 5th run of the month. It's his 2nd home run of the month. So it was good to see both of those guys leave the yard. Renfroe with the home run. Isbell, you mentioned, with a little bit of bottom of the order production, which the Royals have been missing of late. And it was sufficient because you got a great start from your ace. Like, honest to God, Cole Reagans against the Marlins, 4 runs is plenty. You don't need to squeeze the bats into sawdust. Get him something, and you're going to find a way to win that game, and that's what the Royals did.
Reagans has just been as advertised, which you worry sometimes, especially with teams that, frankly, have not been good for quite a while, that you see a blip, you see a flash in the pan, and, oh, wow, maybe he could be something. How many players have we heard could be something over time? Reagans is something. He really is that guy. And he had a couple starts earlier, which were a little iffy, but he has just been absolutely sensational over the course of the year. Now up to an even 11 strikeouts per 9.
Our pal on YouTube on the live chat, Christopher says, not even argument anymore. Cole Reagans is the most dominant lefty in franchise history. This is Larry Gura erasure, and I will not stand idly by. Bud Black is deeply upset. Charlie Liebrandt can't believe what you're saying right now, Chris.
I think Bud Black's upset about a lot these days.
Yeah, Bud Black's got a lot on his plate.
Since May 17th, this is according to Ann Rogers, Reagans owns a 1.84 ERA.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, pretty
good. Damn good.
Really good.
I mean, he's got the stuff. He can, he's not exactly going to go, complete game every time out, but he can get you deep enough into a ball game. It's impressive. It's awesome. And look, you can say whatever you want about the Royals front office and how they do business. I mean, there's lots of arguments to be made, pro, con, whatever. They gave up 1 half a season, a rental 3 months of Aroldis Chapman to get a legitimate long-term ace for their pitching staff.
That was wild, right?
That is great talent recognition and talent scouting by this Royals team.
So I've pulled up the list of Royals pitchers in history by wins above replacement. This is Baseball Reference wins above replacement. Cole Reagans is already tied for 42nd all time with Steve Mingori. 5.6 wins above replacement for Cole Reagans as a Royal. That's not even a full season.
How many starts is that?
It's not even a full season's worth.
He has made 29 starts as a Royal.
So he still has to chase down in the annals of Royals left-handers. Bruce Chen, 6.4 wins above replacement.
Doable.
Daryl May, 7.3 wins above replacement. Jason Vargas, 7.8.
All-star Jason Vargas, please.
Replacement.
Show some respect.
Danny Jackson, pride of Aurora Central High School, Aurora, Colorado. 10.4 wins above replacement. Bud Black, 12.9. Larry Gura, 18.7. Danny Duffy, 20.2. And the gold standard, Charlie Liebrandt, 22.8 wins above replacement. Cole Reagans is on pace to pass that sometime in 2028.
No reason to think he is not going to be able to do that. You know what the really exciting thing about Cole Reagans is? He is not going anywhere. You have him under team control for a long time. Yeah. You've got him for the second half. You've got him for 4.5 more seasons under contract. Yeah. Under team control, I should say. That's how I should phrase it for baseball. And he's getting paid nothing, and he is this good.
It is the most valuable commodity in baseball. Affordable starting pitching.
Yes.
It is like having the star quarterback on a rookie contract in football. If you have team-controlled starting pitching, you have gold on your hands, and that's what the Royals have with Cole Reagans. Unbelievable that they turned 2 months of Aroldis Chapman into that.
What was the other piece of that trade that the Royals got back?
I think that was it.
Was it 1-for-1?
Might have been.
I gotta look this up.
And I think at the time we probably ripped it. I think I did, to say, "Oh my God, the Royals are doing it again, prioritizing close to the majors over somebody with upside." Yeah, shows what I know.
Trenton, what was the other part of that trade? Ronnie Cabrera, minor league infielder. Okay, so not a whole lot there, but
that's Ronnie is that's RONI. That might be Roni. That might be having a.
Oh, they're having Cabrera. A Roni.
Yeah,
man, that's a 580 Sports Talk throwback. Throwback Tuesday.
Bruce Steinbrock never been more confused in his entire life.
His whole life.
Ronnie Cabrera, 18-year-old, playing in the Complex League for the Royals, by the way, 679 OPS in 68 plate appearances.
I honestly don't recall what I thought of the Royals trade at the time. I seem to remember being willing to say, like, whatever, they got something for Chapman, but also you just traded for a dude who's had 2 Tommy John surgeries.
Yeah.
What?
Because there was the whole thing in the Dayton Moore era, right? It's like, we want guys who are close to the major league. That's why when they traded Mike Moustakas, they got Jorge Lopez and Brett Phillips. Like, not guys down in like single A with higher ceilings, but guys in triple A with lower floors. Like, guys you knew were going to get to the major leagues. And Brett Phillips has had a major league career. Jorge Lopez has had a major league career. None of them were great, particularly with the Royals.
No, they're Jags.
So the Reagans trade really felt like a piece from that era, even though JJ Piccolo calling the shots. Like, okay, yeah, they go to a guy who's got big league experience instead of, maybe taking a chance on the 20-year-old down in A ball who's got an ERA over 4 but is striking out 12 guys per 9. Instead of taking a chance on upside, you took a chance on closer to the majors. And I didn't like the thought process behind it. What I did not know is that Cole Reagans is the greatest left-handed pitcher in Royals history. I did not see that outcome as possible. My bad. Mea culpa.
Do you know what Cole Reagans' middle name is? This needs to be a nickname immediately. Immediately.
Cole Train Reagans.
Nice. Gatlin. How are we not calling him the Gatlin gun?
Yeah.
How is that not a thing yet?
Should go buy Gatlin, honestly.
Yeah, that's a sick name. Also so Southern, it's crazy. He's from Crawfordville, Florida. That makes sense.
By the way, I wanted to correct myself. Christopher got me. I forgot Paul Splittorff on the left-hander list. 22.4 wins above replacement. He's still behind Lee Brandt all time in Royals history.
Yeah,
for lefties.
But that's certainly attainable for Reagans.
My
as a Royal.
apologies for leaving Split off the list. I was going by memory and I just jumped over him. My bad.
We talked about this a couple weeks ago. Lugo's an all-star this year. There's no doubt in my mind about that. I think Reagan should be on the team this year. I mean, it's hard with pitchers because fans don't vote on it, and you have to get a certain number of guys. I'm not talking about actually going to pitch the game. I'm talking about picked for the team, because if you start the weekend before, you can't play, whatever.
Yeah.
Reagan should be an all-star.
They're both in the top 8 among Baseball Reference wins above replacement for pitchers in the American League. They have 2 of the top 8. You know who has 2 of the top 3? The worst team in the American League.
The White Sox?
Garrett Crochet and Eric Fetty. 2nd and 3rd in Baseball Reference war
Fetty.
For pitchers. Tyler Anderson, Rocky great, by the way, tops the list. He is the most valuable pitcher in the American League.
Where's he pitching?
The Angels.
The Angels, that's what I thought. Wow, okay, so the key is be bad, and you can get all-star pitchers. That's essentially the key this year.
I guess.
That's how you get guys on the all-star team.
Like,
they both deserve it. I don't know if both will get it. Lugo will. Lugo will make it.
We'll have to do that exercise. Maybe we do it tomorrow and really kind of drill down, because, like,
and maybe Thursday. We have a short show tomorrow.
I don't think Tyler Anderson's actually going. Well, he might. He's carrying an ERA that's pretty low. Like, he might make the All-Star. The Angels have to have one, and I don't know who the hell else would make the team from the Angels, so it probably would be him. But
that's the nice cop out. Yeah,
you're not taking both Crochet and Fetty. You're not giving the White Sox 2 All-Stars. Tanner Houck's probably going. Corbin Burns is probably going. Tarek Skubal is probably going. Logan Gilbert probably from Seattle. And then it kind of becomes an argument, like Lugo and Reagans. We'll have to sit down and actually dig through this.
I guess your one thing could be somebody gets selected, but then the other one goes. Like if Reagan starts on Sunday.
It's sort of like the Pro Bowl now, for pitchers, where you end up getting like 15 starters get selected, but guys throw on Saturday now. They don't want to pitch in the All-Star game. So Yeah, that might be the loophole.
Hey, if that's the way the Royals end up getting 3 All-Stars this year, I'm not going to complain about that.
4 All-Stars. You don't think Salvi's going?
Oh, yeah, Salvi will go. Salvi's just like, I mean, frankly, over the last month, I don't really know that Salvi has deserved it, but he's the biggest name. He's just such a stalwart at the All-Star game. Like, he always goes every year because he's always among the 2 best catchers in the American League, at least offensively. We've got some trade deadline to get to a little bit later on this hour. Who can the Royals afford to give up to get someone? And who does Jeff Passan of ESPN think is actually in the cards for the Royals to acquire? We will get to that coming up here in just a bit. But first, Chris Bubich is on the way back. What is his role going to be? And we've got the YouTube comments and the Top City Metal Supply text line with some ideas for the 580 Sports Talk Olympics. We'll tell you all about it after this on 580 Sports Talk, live from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. We're just getting started on 580 Sports Talk, live from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. Brendan, Dan, Spencer, Trenton, all here with you today. Have a couple suggestions from our YouTube comment section. 580 Sports Talk is where you can find us on YouTube. Make sure you subscribe while you're over there. Some suggestions for events at the 580 Sports Talk Olympics. One, Barbara adds the men's shot put weighs 16 pounds. How far do you think you could throw a 16-pound shot put?
What's the Olympic record?
Let's find out.
Because I don't want to. I'm not trying to put on Front Street here. I don't know what's a good distance to throw it.
23.56 meters.
Yeah, I'm coming in well short.
Yeah, I'd say
probably 10 meters.
Oh, dog, 6. I'm not getting it 10 meters. No way.
So a meter is
held
3
like
feet.
this,
a little over 3 feet.
To get it.
Yeah,
I can't do this for 30 feet with a 16-pound ball.
Probably.
No way.
Yeah,
6 to 7.
10 meters is aspirational. I think.
Yeah, I could not do that.
I would aspire to 10 meters. Probably come up a little bit.
I'm gonna find a meter stick too,
because like you do get the momentum if you get your footwork right. You do the spin and the push. It's really a push more than it's a throw.
Yeah,
it is. I wouldn't be able to get the footwork done though, because I've never done it before.
I would absolutely eat it on the platform. Crack my face open on the little foot stand.
So here's some suggestions from Paul. These are phenomenal. The 4-yard dash, punt, pass, or kick. We could do punt, pass, and kick. That's definitely a doable one. Or bench press Dan's new baby.
Hey, Ash is a chunkarooski. I'm telling you guys, he's already over 10 pounds.
We did have a question. Does that bench press include or not include the car seat?
Yeah, I would want to keep him in the car seat. He has not liked uppies so far. He's not yet 3 weeks old, but the uppies experiments have not gone over well with my son to this point. So yeah, probably would say the car seat. Car seat curls would be that'd
be a good one.
Legitimately.
How heavy is your car seat?
I couldn't tell you how heavy it is. I only know how heavy my boy is.
See, here's the problem. Well, is yours one of the convertible ones where you can take, like, you just detach the carrier from the seat? Okay.
Yes. Drop it in the stroller. Yes.
I was going to say, I'm not going to make you take it out of your car because I don't have kids myself, but that seems like a miserable experience.
Like, installing the car seat base is one of the 5 hardest things I've ever had to do in my life. It's just a totally arduous task.
Which, like, probably good.
Left me mentally broken.
Safety's sake.
Yes.
But yeah, if you can just detach it, that's doable. Yeah, I'm not going to make you undo the base.
It's like a carrier. It's got a handle. Yeah. You can snap it into the stroller. You got the stroller that's compatible with it. It's the whole thing. So yeah, like the curls or like you do it with the backhand too. Sometimes that's how I have to carry it to make sure I can get him into the car in the garage. Yeah, that would be a legitimate event.
That's a doable one. We can do that. All right, we'll put that one on the list. Keep sending them in. We'll aggregate these. Or if you send bad ones, we're not going to keep them, but we'll take the good ones and we'll add that into the hopper of things we might do for the 580 Sports Talk Olympics early next month.
Yeah, I think we're out, unfortunately, to the texter on the 785 on the Topsy Mills Fly text line. We're probably out on the 1 pound Coors curls.
We will have to work after this.
Yes.
We will have to come on the air for 4 hours.
Yes. So regrettably not an option.
If only the Royals played a day game at 3:00. So we did 2:30. We did a show 2 to 2:30 and then went out and did this.
Yeah, we could. Yeah, then all bets are off because we ain't coming back in the studio.
Yeah,
that would be more doable for the curls then at that point. The Royals are going to get some reinforcements in the form of Chris Bubich here in the near future from Andy Rogers of MLB.com yesterday. JJ Piccolo said Chris Bubich will transition to a relief role for now. Bubich granted the final extra 10 days on his rehab assignment. He'll use those to get used to pitching out of the bullpen in Omaha. He could return in early July. This from MLB Trade Rumors today. Bubich isn't the kind of power arm the front office is seeking. His fastball sits low 90s. He has a low 80s changeup, not a power breaking ball as his go-to secondary pitch. Yet Bubich has flashed bat missing upside just before his elbow gave out. He ran a massive 14.7%, nearly 15%, swinging strike rate and punched out 23.5% of opposing hitters over his 3 starts last year. His elbow never gave him a chance to prove if he could sustain it at that level. Early returns on his rehab stint have been promising. He's got an ERA of 2.14 in 21 innings with the Storm Chasers. He's striking out nearly 26% of opposing hitters. This is probably the right call because the starting rotation is not the concern here. I mean, I have individual concerns with some guys, but like you're not pulling Singer for Bubich right now. Like that's the only move, right? Because Reagan's ain't going anywhere. Lugo is locked in. Waka's locked in.
Right. Stop there. What if I told you I feel like they should be swapping Bubich and Alec Marsh, and that Alec Marsh has the pitch mix that would better suit the bullpen than Chris Bubich? Now, I don't think necessarily this is a wrong decision because I think there's a chance that Bubic has his velocity play up out of the bullpen, which would make his changeup an even bigger weapon.
Yes.
And if he has shown the ability to rack up the big strikeouts and the swings and misses, the swinging strike percentage, 14.7% swinging strike rate. Just to give you an idea, last night, Cole Reagans' swinging strike rate for the game was 37%, which is astronomical.
Yeah.
But like 14.7 is big, like over the course of like multiple starts. And I think that potential is there. And there is potential, I think, for Bubic to be a good reliever if indeed he'd come out of the bullpen, he's throwing 95, 96 instead of 92, 93. But I like Alec Marsh's power coming out of the bullpen more than I like the chance that Chris Bubic is going to add velocity. And I know Marsh had the really good start against the Yankees not long ago. I mean, he was really good against the Yankees, the 7 scoreless innings. Other than that, it's not been a real good stretch for Marsh. And like, this is his first full season as a member of a starting rotation, but the home runs have started to tick up. The strikeouts have started to tick down a little bit in the rotation. I wonder if they're making the wrong move here. I wonder if I shouldn't say if they're making the wrong move, because I think this could still work out. Like I said, I think Bubic could be fine out of the bullpen. I just wonder if maybe you're better with him starting and Marsh relieving than Marsh starting and Bubic relieving.
So when you talk about the fastball changeup combo there and using that as your mix out of the bullpen, Marsh really is the same kind of. He's got very average fastball velocity, but he's got a really good changeup. In fact, one of the more highly regarded, in looking at Baseball Savant here, off-speed pitches in Major League Baseball this year. It's been really effective. So you're actually looking at a somewhat similar profile if you were going to use that guy out of the bullpen. Would you go with Marsh over Singer as your bullpen guy?
Oh, gosh.
Because you want to talk about a 2-pitch mix.
Yeah. A long talked about Brady Singer moving to the bullpen. That just feels like the kind of thing the Royals wouldn't even consider. And not because, they're dumb, just because, like, Brady Singer is a starter. He's been down the road long enough in his career as a starter that it's harder to move him to that role than it would be to take a guy with 22 big league starts and say you're a reliever now. That's I guess what I'm saying.
And that's understandable. I think one of and maybe the Royals would come and tell me, no, you're completely wrong about this, but a hypothesis I have about why the Royals would go with Bubic in the bullpen instead of making a move with either Marsh or Singer. And this is especially the case for Brady Singer. After years of late-stage Dayton Moore era Royals baseball, and this includes Mike Matheny as manager too. It's from the top and from the ground level. Remember, one of the trademarks of those really crappy teams was the fact that dudes were moving all the time. Guys were playing different positions constantly. Bubic was in the starting rotation. Then he was a reliever. Then he was in the rotation again. Then he was, maybe he's going to go to the bullpen. Then he started again last year, and then unfortunately his elbow blew out. He looked really good to start the year last year through those 3 starts. I wonder if, and because I think the Royals have done a really good job with Quattrero and Piccolo. I think they've done a really good job of giving guys more consistency and using that to an effective degree. Like MJ Melendez is a great example of this. Now, has it panned out? No, but I think the process of, look, you were playing some right, you were catching some, you were playing a little left, you're a left fielder. You are going to play at left field. Bobby Witt Jr. played a bunch of third base as a rookie. And since then, the Royals said, now you're a shortstop. Forget it. Yeah. Forget the third base thing. Defensively, can you handle it? Without question. Well, no doubt. You're a shortstop. You're staying there.
Adalberto Mondesi being made of tissue paper really kind of made that decision for the Royals.
Also true.
You understood why they wanted Bobby Witt on the field, but they also, like, the potential of having Mondesi and Witt together was tantalizing, and they wanted to leave Mondesi alone. So they left him at shortstop, and what did that last? 8 games?
Something like that.
If even that many. And then, they moved Witt back to short, and they haven't yanked him around since. But
so I do wonder if that's part of the overall philosophy of building this team is we want guys to be in one role. And right now, yes, it's been a tough month for Marsh. His ERA is downright demonic. It's 6.66 for the month of June. But We've made him a starter. He's been a starter for a full half a season now. We want to keep him there as long as we can to try to get things to level out. Same with Brady Singer, who's always been a starter. So we'll go with Bubic in the bullpen to try to give everybody some consistency. Is that right? We don't know right now. Is that actually the plan? Not necessarily, but I think you could make that argument anyway, because that's how they've built and kind of assembled day-to-day the rest of this roster.
So to Bubic's point of him coming back, getting that extra 10 days, early July is when he could return. Is this just kind of a stopgap to see how many games is he going to get to see if they really do need to bring in a bullpen arm?
Well, I think they need to be in bullpen arm anyway.
Yeah, but will they?
They're not one bullpen arm short.
But will they?
I mean, JJ Picollo has been pretty clear that they need one.
Yeah,
and
I don't point he hasn't made a move.
He's got a month.
Yeah, it's June 25th.
Do I wish they had made a move already? Frankly, yes. I would have really liked that. But you've got a month to figure this thing out.
Even we talked about the Chapman for Reagan's trade. We thought that was early last year. That happened on June 30th. And that felt like, whoa, this is really jumping the gun. This is a surprisingly early move in the trade deadline. So, no, I don't think we can say, oh, the Royals are sitting on their hands and they're not going to do anything. I would like to see them be a little bit more urgent. But
yes, I think we all agree on that for sure.
But I do not think that Chris Bubic they're putting all their eggs in that particular basket. I mean, you look at the guys they've got in the bullpen right now. It's not a particularly trustworthy group, even though I should say, old Johnny Leverage had his best outing in weeks last night.
Now, I will say this as well. If they are planning on Bubic coming back in the bullpen for now, that's one thing. You've got probably 3 more March starts before the All-Star break, right? If my math is correct.
Yeah, give or take.
I mean, if it does not improve, you can reassess.
And you've got those 2 off days coming up, not this
around the Cardinals series.
Around the Cardinals series. Yeah. You can juggle your rotation. You don't have to use the 5th starter spot there if you don't want to.
Speaking of the trade deadline, Jeff Passan from ESPN, very tight. As far as national guys go, very tied in with the Kansas City Royals. Who does he think makes sense as a trade target for the Royals? We will talk about that next. Tell you who he picks coming up after this on 580 Sports Talk, live from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. got some Royals tickets to Thursday's opener against the Guardians that we will be giving away here shortly. So be listening for your chance to call in and win tickets from the DM Injury Law ticket window. But first, Jeff Passan, National Baseball Insider for ESPN, has a column up today about trade targets for teams all around Major League Baseball with 5 weeks to go until the deadline. And his best addition for the Kansas City Royals is a player we actually talked about a lot a few weeks ago, and we even brought up his name the other day as well. Outfielder Taylor Ward. Here's what Jeff Passan says about the Royals. Since June 1st, the Royals are 9-18. Whether that's more indicative of their true talent than a 34-19 start showed, or just a rough patch, it's bound to reshape the approach of a team that's been vocal in its desire to add a middle-of-the-order bat and relief pitching. Ward would be an upgrade offensively and defensively over left field incumbent MJ Melendez, and the 30-year-old would offer the Royals some thump either in front of or behind Witt, Pasquantino, and Perez. On the relief side, Kansas City needs to shore up a bullpen that in June is striking out only 6.9 batters per 9 and is walking nearly 4. Behind Scott and Angels closer Carlos Estevez, the Royals could entertain pursuing right-hander Jason Adam, a Kansas City native who came up through the organization, or Pete Fairbanks, another local guy who played at Missouri in college. Both have historically posted strong strikeout numbers and would push James MacArthur out of the closer's role, where he has allowed batters to hit .329 with a .557 slug since the beginning of May. First of all, yuck.
Yeah.
Gross. That's really bad. Secondly, I have a hard time arguing any of these names who are brought up. And for Taylor Ward, his numbers have not been eye-popping this year. He's been slightly above average according to things like OPS plus, weighted runs created, numbers like that.
Here's a quick quiz. How many Royals have more home runs than Taylor Ward?
2.
0 is the correct
How many does he have?
He's got 13 dingers.
13? What's Witt and Salvi both at 11?
Witt and Perez both at 12.
Oh, the 12. Okay, I'm one behind. I did not know he had that many. Also, why we talked about importance of pop earlier in the show with the Royals hitting those 3 home runs last night. There's just not a lot.
Ball go far, team go far.
Right.
Like I said that at the beginning of the year, and we talked about this Royals team needing to have more power. And to an extent, like, Hunter Renfroe has probably produced maybe a little less, but about, I think, what you would have expected power-wise from Hunter Renfroe. You maybe haven't gotten that big step forward. Certainly you hadn't gotten it from Velasquez. Haven't gotten it from Melendez. Witt and Perez are probably on pace to hit around 25-30, which is great. I thought maybe there'd be a little bit more from Pasquantino, too.
Mm-hmm.
This is a long way of saying you're in the bottom half of the league in home runs. It would be nice to add somebody who can hit some home runs.
I agree.
Yeah.
I like that reliever collection too. I have a soft spot for Rocky great Carlos Estevez. It is Estevez for the record, not Estevez like Emilio and
Carlos.
The other Carlos.
Yeah.
Estevez, aka Charlie Sheen. Yeah, that's not a joke. Carlos Estevez was an all-star last year for the Angels. The best way I can describe Estevez for anybody who maybe hasn't seen him pitch, like imagine if Carlos Hernandez figured it out as a reliever.
It'd be pretty nice.
That's Carlos Estevez.
Yeah.
Like even like physically and the way they throw, it's all very similar. Estevez this year, he saved 31 games last year for the Angels, made the All-Star game. This year, 3.38 ERA, peripherals line up pretty good, 25 Ks in 24 innings, just 3 walks. So, yeah, you take that, strike throw out the bullpen. Big velocity. He's 6'6", 277, according to Baseball Reference.
That's a large man.
That is a hoss. A hoss and a half.
Yeah, Fairbanks is big. He's 6'6", but only 225. Estevez, yeah, that's beef.
And the other thing, we did that exercise. You guys remember Trenton and Spencer, you were around for this when we did the blind reliever resume test. And just went through, I picked like 4 random guys on teams that don't expect to contend as possible relief targets. And I think one thing we kind of all agreed on was it would be nice for the Royals to get somebody who's got some ninth inning experience so that in the important games down the stretch, you're not leaning on James MacArthur. I still think that MacArthur's got a ceiling, got an upside. He's going through some struggles. You would expect a first-year reliever to do that. It's very rare that you trust wholeheartedly a rookie closer if you were a contending team. So I think it would behoove the Royals to look at guys who do have that ninth inning experience. I hadn't heard Estevez brought up in trade talks yet. I think, and I'm double checking, that he's a free agent after this season, so the cost would probably be fairly low for the Royals to go get the 31-year-old righty. But
and that part is important, and I'm sorry to cut you off, but that's been written about by a number of different Royals bloggers, writers over the last couple of days, David Lesky among them, who has said, look, here's the situation the Royals are in. You can't say, well, we don't have a good farm system, but also we don't want to trade certain guys and we want to hold on to them at the trade deadline. Like, that's kind of talking out of both sides of your mouth here. You've got to be willing to part with someone if you're going to go get someone at the deadline. And for a Royals farm system that is not good, I mean, no one thinks it's a good system right now. That means you've got to give up one of your best guys, because it's not like you're crazy deep. It's not like your 15th best prospect is still a fringe top 100 guy. Your 15th best prospect right now is probably never going to play in Major League Baseball. Like, you've got to be willing to part with someone who is near the top of this weak system if you're going to go out and get a better player.
If you're going to go,
are you willing to do that?
But that's if you're going to go get a big fish. Like, if remember back before the season, we had talked about Milwaukee's Devin Williams being a possibility, where it looked like Milwaukee was selling everything and that Williams was on the trade block. Then he got hurt, and now Milwaukee's good. So when he comes back, he's going to be their closer, and forget about that. But when we talked about it earlier in the year, like, that was a guy who's like a big fish. That's a perennial all-star in the back of the bullpen with some team control left. That's going to cost you a lot more than a 31-year-old right-hander who, yes, has been to an all-star game, but is not under team control beyond this year. That's the kind of thing that's only going to probably cost you some guys in the middle of your top 30 prospect rankings. One of those, like, hard-throwing 19-year-olds down at Burlington or wherever the A-ball affiliate is now. I'm failing to remember now.
Columbia?
Columbia. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking of. Burlington was a rookie ball ages ago.
The counterpoint, though, is, like, middle of the Royals farm system right now is the bottom of everyone else's. Like, this farm system stinks. Do you know how many top 100 players the Royals have? I'm using MLB.com.
They don't have any they don't have any.
One.
Oh, Blake Mitchell?
Blake Mitchell.
Yeah, okay.
Blake Mitchell's number 70. And again, I'm using MLB.com.
I think it was 0 before the season began.
It might have been. Like, it's really bad. Like, horrible. That's my point, is that top of the Royals farm system is, in terms of quality of prospect, is probably relative to middle of someone else's. So all I'm saying is, like, are you willing to say, okay, you get a player with 2 years of control, some hypothetical here. Are you willing to part with Frank Mazzucato, who you drafted early a couple years ago, is one of your better prospects, but all things considered is not a great prospect? My answer is yes. Be willing to trade that guy, because if you think you're going to go contend this year, be willing to part with a guy who's an average prospect, even if average is good for your system.
On the one hand, this is not a system that can really afford to trade pitching prospects. On the other hand, there is no such thing as a pitching prospect. Rather famously, Baseball Prospectus coined that phrase. They even have an acronym for it, TINSTAP. There's no such thing as a pitching prospect. So, yeah, cash those chips in when you get an opportunity to improve your big league team, when you got a shot to make the playoffs, which would be a big deal for this organization, for the fan base. So I see it both ways. I'm glad I'm not in J.J. Piccolo's chair making that decision. But broadly, I will say that getting a reliever with no team control left is going to be about the most affordable thing you can go and get, which is why a guy like Estevez is appealing.
We've got some NFL to get to coming up to lead off the 3 o'clock hour. We'll also give away some Royals tickets early in the 3 o'clock hour. We're back after the news here on 580 Sports Talk from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. go. 3 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk going up on a Tuesday. Brendan Dworzinski, Dan Lucero, Spencer Dupuis in studio with you today. Trenton Kraxner is alongside on the other side of the glass today. Thanks for spending some time with us, whether you're listening on 580 AM, 104.9 FM, online at 580WIBW.com, or checking us out on YouTube, 580 Sports Talk, the name of our YouTube channel. You can also, in fact, find the video stream straight through our website at 580WIBW.com, also on the WIBW News Facebook page, and at 580 Sports Talk on Twitter. In this 3 o'clock hour of the show, we'll get to some NFL chatter here in just a second. We've also got today's Random Question Tuesday. And EA Sports, as they get us ready for the release of the College Football 25 video game, they came out with their toughest places to play rankings. If you ever played the games, there's always somewhere where you can find the list of toughest places to play, and then it makes it loud and your controller vibrates when you're playing in that stadium. Lot of contention over this list today of their hardest places to play.
It stinks. It's bad. It's alarmingly bad. It makes me worry about the quality of the game.
But it does say at the very bottom right. Did you see what's at the very bottom right of the graphic?
No. I was too blinded by my rage at the big print on the graphic.
It says subject to change.
So it could change.
Like tomorrow? Before the game comes out?
Maybe you have to get the downloadable content to get it to change.
It says rankings are subject to change in the bottom right corner.
And there are going to be some changes.
I liked in the old games because it was always like press L1 to get the crowd rowdy or whatever. If you just mashed it enough every time you played at home, your stadium would climb up the rankings.
If you won at home, you had to win.
If you win, yeah.
Yeah, you had to win at home.
Well, I mean, by year 3, once you got your recruiting machine going, everybody wins.
Yes,
that's the appeal.
The Coliseum, the home of the Colorado Tech Gladiators, was a fearsome fortress for my dynasty. And I want to say that was NCAA football 03. Were you alive for NCAA football 03, Spencer, Trenton? Were you alive then?
No, Trenton wasn't.
I mean, I was alive.
I recently found out Trenton was born in 2004.
Oh my gosh.
Just May 17th, 2004. What were you doing at that time? I was being born, just newly 20.
May 27th, 2004, I was graduating high school.
I was finishing 3rd grade.
I was finishing 2nd grade.
You would have been
first grade.
You were
7.
Born? When were you born? 1997?
Yeah, I would have been 7, 6, 7,
something like that. Yeah,
I would have been kindergarten, 1st grade, somewhere around there.
You have to be the old guy again.
I'm the old guy.
But I will say, when I found out the other day I'm 10 years older than Trenton, I thought, God dang, 2004, man.
I mean, if you think about it, it's like the youngest, it's like Trenton, then 7 years me, and then
7 years. Oh, yeah, I guess.
You're how many years older than me?
About 3.
3, and then Dan's
got 7 years.
7
on Brendan,
years.
I think.
Yeah.
It's like the
that's a lot of symmetry.
It's like the old cell phone commercial.
The bars.
We've got bars.
The AT&T bars.
Yeah.
SBC Global or whatever, whoever came up with that first. So we'll touch on that later on this hour. Your texts are still welcome on the show on the Top City Metal Supply text line, 785-272-9429. Also, you can find us on YouTube, and the comment section's open there, 580 Sports Talk on YouTube. We have Royals tickets to give away this hour as well, so be listening. We're going to go to the Royals ticket window from DM Injury Law. We're going to have a pair of tickets to Thursday's game to give away. We will tell you how to win those coming up later on in this hour.
Hey, before we get into it, our favorite new commenter, Joe.
I think Joe's been around for a while.
Yeah.
I think he's just been ragging on you recently.
Did you see what he said?
But so you're wearing a Royals hat today. We should give the important context. Spencer's rocking Royals gear today,
which I got last weekend for $12 at Sam's Club. Shout out to Sam's Club if you want to go there. No free shout out.
So Joe is saying the Royals are screwed now because you're starting to rock Royal stuff.
Look,
after
they
he called
were
us jinxes
screwed
yesterday.
Before I got the hat. Like they played the Yankees and the Dodgers before I got the hat.
The halfway point of the season is tonight, guys. There's a whole other half of baseball. Nobody
don't guise me. There is one person here who called them cooked, and it was not yours truly.
I feel like the dude here, Jeffrey Lebowski, telling you that nothing is expletive, and Trenton and Spencer trying to tell me that the plane has crashed into the mountain. Like, calm down, guys.
Again, not guys. One person in this room.
He was referring to guys as Trenton.
Trenton also did say that, what was it? If they lost this series, you were going to say it's over, pack it up. Is that what you said yesterday?
Look ahead to KU football and Chiefs football.
Well, if he
what a time to be alive.
If he goes tonight and they lose, it's his fault. He's going tonight.
That's true. You are going to be there.
They're 1-1 when I go. I went to the Blue Jays game the day before the rain out where they won 3-2 when Vladdy missed that ball at first on that throw where he just like whiffed at first and Rose put up 3 runs.
Yeah, I remember. And
then the Padres game where Pasquantino's bobblehead day where Pasquantino had 3 RBIs, but Alec Marsh just kept giving the lead back. So they're 1-1. So there's a 50-50 chance.
It's the Trenton Craxner rubber game is what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, so if they lose tonight, you can't go to another game.
That may be true. But up until they lost to the Padres, they'd won like 5 or 6 games in a row that I went to over the past 3 or 4 years. So
on aggregate, we're doing all right.
I was one of the bright spots in the past 6 years for the Royals.
Way too much doomerism going on for a team that's on pace to win 86 games. That's all I'm saying.
That would have been based on, we looked at it a couple weeks ago. Based on last year's numbers, that would still be enough to get into the playoffs.
Yeah.
Every team gets into the playoffs now.
Boston did come back and win last night, but
that was frustrating.
Unfortunately, Houston's got Colorado, so they got some free wins coming.
Hey, I got a text to go over when we talk quarterbacks here. I just got a text from somebody from my old stomping ground.
This is college quarterbacks?
Yes.
All right, we'll get to that.
Way ahead of the game.
Yeah, 4 o'clock hour. We're going to draft college Big 12 quarterback.
I guess I can never go to a game again if they do lose to the White Sox when I go on the 20th.
That's the rule for that game?
Yeah, if they lose, I'm never going to a game again.
All right, let's get to the NFL here. Mike Jones, columnist at The Athletic, he has a list today. We had one from him the other day, too. But he's got his list of the most underrated and overrated teams in the NFL. Do we start with the negative or the positive? Well, the overrated or the underrated. I guess you can spin that however you want.
Let's start with the overrated. It's more fun to talk about overrated.
All right, we'll start with the overrated. Number 1, Dan, I think this one's going to have some heat with you, to use a pro wrestling term. The Baltimore Ravens. After falling short in the AFC Championship game, the Ravens crave a Super Bowl run more than ever. They still have the MVP. They did add workhorse back Derrick Henry, which should help ease pressure on Jackson. But is it realistic to expect the Ravens to just pick up where they left off, considering the loss of defensive coordinator Mike Macdonald, several other top assistants, multiple linebackers, and most of their secondary? They also lost 3 starters on their offensive line. A rigorous opening stretch plus potential growing pains could put the Ravens in an early hole. I don't think I would call the Ravens overrated, but he does make some points here. I mean, how much do you lose by losing Mike Macdonald? I think it's quite a bit. I think he's a very good coordinator. We'll see if he's a very good head coach. They did lose a bunch of dudes defensively. Now, if you wanted to give me an overrated offseason move, Patrick Queen was good for 1 year in Baltimore. And it was the year when Mike Macdonald got everything clicking, and he also got to play next to Roquan Smith. I think Pittsburgh way overpaid for Patrick Queen, to be honest with you. So I'm not as much worried about that. The secondary, you lose Geno Stone, who I like. I think he's a good player. That's obviously going to be tough. He went to Cincinnati. I forgot to mention that yesterday. My apologies, Cincinnati front office. But schedule, not super easy. You lose your defensive coordinator. You've got some worries about the offensive line. I don't think I'd say overrated, but I do think they kind of have to prove something pretty quickly.
The way last season ended for them, losing the AFC Championship game at home, and not just losing that game, but kind of getting punked, and kind of like losing their identity, losing a piece of themselves in the process. That is going to leave a sour taste, and that is the kind of thing that can linger. Like the way that season ended. Sometimes the way you lose, the way a season ends, it can linger. Personally, I hope Mike Macdonald is that good, because if he's that impactful as a staff member, that's going to mean great things for the Seattle Seahawks this coming year. If he's that impactful as a coach, but
he also brought over some of his assistants, correct?
And he did. He brought over some not a large number of guys, but there's some carryover from the Baltimore staff. But like John Harbaugh's had great coaching staffs throughout his tenure in Baltimore. I don't think they're going to miss too much of a beat defensively, and I do hold Macdonald in high regard, but I also don't think that him leaving is going to cause the whole house of cards to collapse. I would object fairly strenuously with them being referred to as overrated. I still think they're the second best team in the AFC.
I'm also, now that I'm looking at it, I think the points about losing Macdonald, some assistants, and talent defensively and on the offensive line, I think are all reasonable points. But I'm looking at the schedule now. I don't think this is that difficult. Chiefs week 1. Okay, that's going to be tough in Kansas City. Then you go Raiders at Cowboys, Bills at Bengals, Commanders, then at Tampa, at Cleveland, Broncos. Then you get into the second half of the schedule in week 10 with another game against Cincinnati. That's not that difficult. Like, if you think you're good, and I think the Ravens will at the very least be good, a contender in their division.
Like, it's a hard division. There's no question. Like, they could easily go 3-3 in the division. But
I mean, they could have 9 wins and still be third in their division.
They could. Yeah, it is a good division. I don't think that start of the schedule is all that difficult, though, because that was used as a point against them in that blurb for Mike Jones. I don't think that's all that difficult of a start of the schedule. I think they can beat Vegas. I think they could beat Kansas City. I doubt it, but they could. I think they beat the Raiders. I think they beat the Cowboys. I think at home they can beat Buffalo. Cincy will be tough in Cincinnati, but I think they can beat Washington. On the road at Tampa. Cleveland will be tough, divisional game, but that's a decent first stretch of the schedule. Then on the back end, they have a lot more divisional games. They have to play Cleveland again, Cincinnati again, 2 against Pittsburgh. Back half of the schedule, I think, is tougher than the front half, to be honest with you. But I agree. I think the Ravens are going to have a harder time winning this year than last year, especially early because of the new pieces, but I don't think they're overrated by any means.
Yeah, I still like them a lot.
The Colts says, yes, they exceeded expectations, also managed to re-sign 10 of their 13 players with expiring contracts. That's actually wild.
Yeah.
The Colts expect to make significant strides under year 2 with coach Shane Steichen, but Anthony Richardson is essentially still a rookie, having played only 4 games before he got hurt and had to have surgery last year. Not only does the quarterback have rust to knock off, but he also still has quite a bit of learning to do. That feels like a lot of projection to me. Also, I don't think anyone's talking about the Colts.
Yeah, who's rating the Colts?
I like the Colts, and I love Shane Steichen. I think he is a great coach.
Yeah, I think they might be doing this because they brought back 10 of their 13 players and their core players. So you brought back a core with a young quarterback, but this young quarterback has an interesting set of expectations for himself because he was hurt and missed a good chunk of the season, more than half the season.
And I get
he has an upside and a downside. Yeah.
I get the concern, and I get thinking, I don't know that Anthony Richardson is that dude. I can reasonably understand that. Who's overrating them, though?
I keep forgetting they were a dropped pass away from making the playoffs.
Yeah.
With Gardner Minshew.
Yeah. I keep forgetting that's true.
10-7.
And I don't really think that's so much about them as it is about somebody had to win games in the AFC South.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't think that they're necessarily overrated. They're probably properly rated. Like, I don't think anybody's sleeping on the Colts, but they feel like a pretty mid team that might snag a division title or a 9-8, 7 seed. But nobody's considering them a team that, like, I haven't heard anybody talk about the Colts is they're going to be the breakthrough team in the AFC. They're going to be the one that upends the previously considered hierarchy of AFC contenders. Like, nobody who's talking about the Colts like that.
If anything, I think you could spin that as them being underrated because, as everyone's talking about Houston, everyone is talking about Houston, who, as good as CJ Stroud looks, the sophomore slump is a phrase for quarterbacks for a reason. And if Anthony Richardson is that guy, and he was drafted top 5 last year, if he is that guy, they could make a run at Houston for that division title. This is the best the AFC South has been in a long time because Jacksonville is still lingering around. I think Tennessee will be pretty bad. But I would say they're almost underrated versus overrated.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like more people are talking about the Jaguars than they are the Colts.
Probably, yeah. Well, especially because they just paid Lawrence. I think they're definitely in that conversation. He's got the Chargers on here. I don't know that I agree for this year, but just kind of on general principle, I agree. Jim Harbaugh should be good for Justin Herbert and the Chargers in the long run. He was the best coach available on the market, but an overnight turnaround might be far-fetched, especially since Harbaugh hasn't coached in the NFL in 10 years. While they tried to bolster their defense, Herbert will no longer have Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, and Austin Eckler. Well, that last one's addition by subtraction, but he was so bad this past year.
There will be somebody out there, some buddies in the NFL media ecosystem that inevitably talks themselves into the Chargers and even picks them to win the AFC West and probably does it publicly, probably does it on NFL Network, probably does it on a podcast with a bunch of listeners.
Yeah.
You can just say David Carr.
Chris Sims. Like it will,
it
will be some washed quarterback on a podcast called Let's Talk About It for Real that like 28 people listen to.
Which quarterback will Tyreek Hill bring on It needs to be said.
It needed to be said. Yeah, like it will happen. It's inevitable because it's like the changing of the colors of the leaves. It is inevitable that somebody will overreact to the Chargers. So this is preemptive. I feel like
that's fair.
Somebody's going to overrate them at some point.
And you know what? Fair enough. That's fair enough. Here's the last one in the overrated category: the San Francisco 49ers. I'm here for the discussion, even though I don't think I agree. Kyle Shanahan, this is Mike Jones' writing from The Athletic. Kyle Shanahan always gives them a chance, and Brock Purdy, again, has a talented supporting cast, although Brandon Ayuk faces an uncertain future. Yeah, that's ugly. That is getting ugly in a hurry between the Niners and Brandon Ayuk. Questions loom over the defense, however, with a first-year defensive coordinator and Nick Sorensen directing a unit that lost Eric Armstead and Javon Kinlaw to free agency and must deal with the extended absence of Dre Greenlaw, who's coming back from an Achilles surgery. That is a big loss. The 49ers hope to put another heartbreaking Super Bowl defeat in the past and make another run at a ring, but doing so could prove more challenging than many expect. Again, I don't know that I fully agree, but I'm open to this conversation. Losing Greenlaw is tough. Like, Fred Warner's the best linebacker in the NFL, but Greenlaw's a really nice compliment next to him. Kinlaw never was really panned out. I don't think that's a huge loss. Eric Armstead's a good player, though. So that's a lot they lost up front. It is a first-year coordinator after the Steve Wilkes experiment didn't really work out. Offensively, here's the problem for them offensively. Quarterback, fine. Brock Purdy is good. I don't think he's great. I don't even think he's very good. I think he's better than Jimmy G, I think, and they won a bunch with Jimmy G. You got Ayuk for now. You have Debo for now. McCaffrey's great. You've got Kittle still. I like Juwan Jennings a lot. Here's the problem. If you have one injury on that offensive line, all of a sudden I think you're in a really bad spot. And not even Trent Williams, who's great. Even if it's not him, like if anyone else gets hurt on that offensive line, that feels like a house of cards. And suddenly, if Brock Purdy is no longer able to just sit for 3 seconds and then throw to Brandon Ayuk wide open 20 yards downfield, what does that offense look like? And I think that's a legitimate question to ask about this team.
I think the other question you can ask is the general question about getting back to the Super Bowl after you lose it. That's always been a hard thing to do. Look at what happened to the Eagles last year. That thing was rolling.
They wanted to fire their coach.
Yes, that thing was rolling until it abruptly was not. And when things started to be difficult for them, the ship went south and they never recovered. So it's just generally hard to get back anyway. The Chiefs have don't take it for granted because they've made it look routine. Like we just go every year. That's what we do. We have Patrick Mahomes. We go to the Super Bowl every year. Yeah, book your vacations accordingly.
It's like North Dakota State fans going to Frisco. Like, right. Oh, yeah, we'll be there. We'll see you there.
For everyone else, for the 31 teams who do not have Michael Jordan at quarterback, it's extremely hard to get back to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
It's very challenging.
So, yes, I think...
And they've had 2 heartbreaking losses in 5 years.
Overrated in the sense that I would not take for granted that they should be the NFC favorite. Let's say that.
Okay, that's fair. Yeah. I think fair. For the underrated ones, one of these I firmly agree with, one I mildly do, and 2 I definitely disagree with. First one on the list is the Atlanta Falcons. Much of the discussion about the Falcons has centered on their eyebrow-raising draft pick of Michael Penix, but the rookie QB is not why Atlanta has a chance to take a big step forward. Quarterback Kirk Cousins can elevate the game of Pitts, London, and Bijan Robinson. That's one reason for hope. He's better than whatever his name is, Ritter, no doubt. What is his first name?
Desmond, thank you.
I hate watching him play. I couldn't even remember.
Memory hole, the guy who was
Thank
like
God.
A good prospect coming out of college.
The Falcons' devotion to improving overall depth and the draft is also why many coaches view Atlanta as a team on the rise. Well, that right there tells me they're not really underrated. I think most people think they're going to win that division.
Yeah.
Carolina will be bad again. I think the Saints are going to be terrible. And that leaves just you and the Bucks. Like, I think most people would take Atlanta, to be completely honest with you. And yeah, I mean, Cousins is not great, but Pitts, London, and Robinson should all be better with a better offense and a better quarterback. So I don't think they're underrated at all. I think they're actually properly rated.
Yeah, if you consider them the favorites to win their division, yeah, I would say that they're properly rated.
I agree on the Arizona Cardinals. I actually fully agree. I don't know that they're a playoff team. I think that they're going to ruin someone's day frequently this coming season.
They played hard for Jonathan Gannon. I thought he was a goober and that nobody would respect him, and I got that wrong. Apparently, guys run through a wall for Jonathan Gannon and all his goobery.
Yeah.
And respect to him for getting those guys to play as hard as they did. They were a hard playing 4-13 football team last year, and they probably did get better personnel wise. So they'll be a hard playing 6-11 this year.
For real though, like I really think they will. They killed the Eagles. Remember that game? That was a lot of fun. A lot of people like their offensive coordinator Drew Petzing. Adding a legit wide receiver, so you're not throwing like 9 routes to Greg Dortch all game, is going to be, I think, very valuable for Kyler Murray. I agree with that one wholeheartedly. I mildly agree with the Bengals. I think most people consider them pretty good. I'm obviously all in on them this year. I don't think they've been talked about a ton, mostly because the T. Higgins thing has kind of overshadowed their offseason. He's got him on the list. Last one, and it's going to sound weird. I firmly disagree with this, though. He's got the Packers. Says the Lions have garnered a lot of attention, and rightfully so, but the Packers are flying under the radar and appear poised to make a surge in 24 thanks to the growth of Jordan Love, adding Josh Jacobs and Xavier McKinney, and a solid draft, including Jordan Morgan and Edgerrin Cooper. Look, I love this Packers team. I'm all in on them being good. No one is underrating the Packers. They are absolutely the darling of the offseason. Everybody is in on Green Bay being good.
They're like the Lions last season. The team that is so underrated, they actually are overrated.
I'm pretty sure it was you a month or so ago. We were talking off seasons, and I don't remember who we were comparing them to, but you said, why are they not talked about as one of the like bubbling under dark horse contender teams? Like, they are not underrated by anybody.
It's coming. Yeah. By the time we get to training camp, they'll be so underrated, they're overrated.
Yes. They're Romoing themselves. they are, which generally speaking is a bad thing. But I mean, I'm happy for the love, but yeah, let's be real here. Random Question Tuesday is coming up next. And did EA Sports get it wrong with their toughest stadiums ranking? We'll tell you next on 580 Sports Talk, live from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. Random Question Tuesday time on 580 Sports Talk, live from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. All right, my question. This is in honor of Spencer, so it's a slightly different question for the two of you, but same general point. So Spencer's girlfriend's moving in with him this weekend. She's moving halfway across the country, moving in this weekend, this coming weekend. What for you is currently or was a staple of your living single life? Something you did when you lived on your own that now, because you are married and live with someone, you can't do or don't do? Or, Spencer, something you do now that you know you're not going to be doing once your girlfriend moves in?
Everything? Like, no, my life is very different now because I have. Yeah.
Well, yes, also many changes for you recently.
For me, extremely different. But no, I stay up less late and I play less video games. Those are the two things. It would be nothing to me to stay up until like 2:30 playing full seasons of MLB The Show, like 9-inning games, no quick counts, absolute sicko mode, 162 game seasons on MLB The Show. And I don't do that anymore. I watch TV with my wife. We spend time together.
Yeah.
And then we go to bed around the same time.
Mine would have to be, I guess, it'll go back to the other night, Saturday night. I wanted to get in bed. So I got in bed and I sat on my iPad and watched FBI on Paramount Plus for 4 hours. And all of a sudden it was 3:30 in the morning.
Yeah, it's definitely like the routine, like the regimenting of your life that living with your partner full time gives you more of.
Yeah.
So a little inside baseball here. We used to have a dress code at work that we actively do not have. It is on hiatus. It used to look a little nicer when it come to work, not just t-shirt and shorts or jeans. I used to go home every day. I would take off button-down shirt. I would lay it on a counter in my living room next to my folding table. That was also my work table, also my dinner table. I would just lay it on the counter next to it. I would de-pants. And I would lay on my couch in my underwear and undershirt all evening watching college basketball, college football, whatever. Just laying on the couch, doing nothing but watching TV, being on my phone until I would realize it's 9:30. I should probably have dinner. And then I would eat a sleeve of Oreos, and that would be dinner.
That's also probably something that I'm going to say is every night I don't eat dinner till like 7:30, 8 o'clock.
Yeah.
Because I need to come home and chill, and I just have a routine when I get home.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
And it's like 7:45. I'm just making dinner.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be like, are you eating what I made for dinner, or am I making for dinner by the time you get home? Or is it like, are you just going to have to fend for yourself later? So I'll probably end up eating at like 6:30, like a normal time.
Oh, yeah.
Brendan, I have to say I had a similar experience back in the dress code days here at 580. I would also take off the monkey suit, the khakis, and the polo shirt. And then I would pick up the shorts and t-shirt I had probably worn the day before from the floor in front of my dresser. And that would just be my after work shirts and shorts for the rest of the week.
Oh, yeah.
Because it would save me time doing laundry. I had to do less laundry that way.
Oh, yeah. I've cut every corner I could for
because
laundry.
I did not have my own laundry.
Yeah.
I lived like a college senior.
I do that
until I was 33.
I do that right now. Same
now. Yeah.
Same shirt and same shorts whenever I want to get out of this stuff.
A couple of texts here or comments here from the YouTube stream. Jackson says, watching random episodes of Sports Center endlessly. She does not appreciate that as much as I do. Yeah, no, I get that.
It's
that's
our guy
too
Jackson.
Real. Also from Joe, you guys do dress like you're working at the municipal pool snack shack.
I don't know whether to be insulted or not.
I rock some nice stuff here and there.
I think these shirts are cheap.
Yeah, that home field apparel, that ain't cheap.
Yeah, they're not paying me yet.
Yeah,
$75.
I definitely am cool just being casual. Like who am I impressing?
Anything fancier than this, and I feel like I'm playing dress up. Honest to God.
I hate dressing up. I'm going to be honest with you. I hate it.
I don't like wearing suits. I don't like wearing ties. I don't like wearing button-up shirts. I don't like wearing like khaki pants. Like golf pants are about as nice as I really want to give you. It doesn't feel natural to me. This feels natural, so this is what I do.
When I was a kid, genuinely, like my least favorite part of going to church on Sunday mornings was dressing up. I really hated it. Like I just have always hated it. I know guys who say, "Oh man, I love putting on a suit." Nah, man, screw that.
I was that way in college where I didn't usually dress up a lot before college, but in college, whenever I was doing a broadcast,
sure,
we had to wear polos and it's polos for like baseball and stuff, but like for football, it was like full suit.
Mm-hmm.
So I, was in that mode and was gifted some for Christmas every year. And now they're currently sitting in Virginia like, hey, do you want these? I'm like, well,
I don't know.
Maybe a couple we can downsize and shrink it to like maybe 1 or 2 to have.
Yeah, I've worn a suit for a non-wedding, I think 0 times, and I couldn't even tell you how long. Dressing up, not for me. All right, Dan, what's your question today?
As a father, I recently had to name a child. I gave my child a name. We named him Asher Paul. That is his name. Asher was a name my wife liked. It was a name that I grew to like. It was a name that means happiness or blessing from the original Hebrew translation, which made me like it even more. That is how we chose that name. Paul was chosen because it is also my middle name. It is also my father-in-law's middle name. So it's one that literally runs in the family.
Mm-hmm.
How was your name chosen by your parents? What do you know about the origin story of your name?
I can't ever remember it, but my mom wanted to name me Taylor, and I'm not named Taylor. I think it had something to do with Spencer for Hire. I could be totally wrong.
My dad claims that he wanted my name to be Raymont for former Bear Raymont Harris.
Okay.
The problem with that, not only is my dad White Jerome, I really couldn't have gotten by as White Raymont. That's not really one that flies.
Raymond.
The story my mom has always told me is when my older sister was born, they had one name. It was Catherine. They did not have a boy name. So, and at the time in 1989, you weren't finding out beforehand what you were having. You found out day of. They had one name. When I was born, they had Brendan. They did not have a girl name. They had one boy name. So it better be a boy. That's the way it was going to work. My mom only knew one guy named Brendan. It was someone my dad worked with who she didn't even like. We're not a big fan.
Wild.
But they liked the name.
Like the name.
We are minimally Irish, but it was close enough.
My parents just wanted a name that had not been used in the family and landed on Daniel. So
There you go.
yeah, I don't have a better story than that. They just came across it, liked it, and
Yeah, good a name as that, or good a reason as any.
Yeah.
Barbara on YouTube, this rules. She said she was named for the Beach Boys song.
Yeah,
that kicks ass.
that's awesome.
That is awesome.
That's good stuff.
Barbara Ann, great song. Beach Boys rule. Big into drugs. Brian Wilson, anyway.
It was the 60s.
Yeah, everyone was.
Yeah.
It happens. Yeah, no, that rules. That's a really cool story. Do you have a question for us today?
Yes. So obviously I'm just moved here 6 months ago, so there's some places that I love to eat that obviously aren't here.
Mm-hmm.
If you could go to, it wouldn't be here. It's wherever you're from. So we're all from not in the Topeka area.
Chicago, Denver. Yeah, okay.
If there was one restaurant where you could go right now and get something to eat, what restaurant and where? What would it be?
That's a good question.
I'm going to say the burrito tacos at Mr. Oso's in Washington Park in Denver.
I would have to go with shout out to my guy Paul. Paul's Pizza and Hot Dogs, where nobody orders pizza nor hot dogs in Westchester, Illinois. Right, just 10-minute drive from where I grew up. The beef is just so good. Love the Italian. You get it wet. You need to get it like so wet the bread is falling apart in your hands.
Correct.
So you get a foot-long sandwich, but you have to eat it in about 90 seconds, or it's just in like meat in your hands. Don't even go there. That's the pick.
I wasn't going there until you said something.
I had to get out in front of it.
For me, it'd be bacon cheese fries with ranch from Ollie's VIP in Martinsburg, and then
Sounds pretty good.
their garlic parm wings to die for.
That sounds good.
I'm hitting that spot when I go back in a couple weeks.
Garlic parm wings are a winner.
Yes.
You got to do it right, though. I don't like it when it's just coated in the garlic parm, but I love the flavoring of it with wings.
Wings, etc. here in town is the best garlic parm wings I've had.
They're very good. They're
really good garlic parm wings. Shout out to them.
Let's get to a timeout, shall we? Before we get to our ranking from EA Sports' hardest stadiums in college football today, we want to give you some Royals tickets. These are a pair of tickets Thursday night. That is the game 1 of the 4-game set against the Guardians. These are from our good friends at DM Injury Law and the DM Injury Law Royals ticket window. Have you or a loved one been in a car wreck? Contact DM Injury Law today and get the money you deserve. Car wreck? Remember, Mike's got this. We need caller number 5. We've got a pair of Royals tickets, 300 level for you. 785-272-9429 for caller number 5. We'll get our winner right now. We'll talk some college football after this on 580 Sports Talk. Congratulations to Robert from Topeka. He is the winner of a pair of Royals tickets to Thursday night, 7:10 first pitch. That is the opener against the Guardians. That's a big series, big series. So congrats to Robert. And again, a big thanks to DM Injury Law and our DM Injury Law Royals ticket window. If you've been in a car wreck, remember, Mike's got this. Contact DM Injury Law today and get the money you deserve. Dan, you've been fired up about this. So EA Sports College Football 25 video game is coming out early next month. Early next month?
I think midway, like the
16th?
18th or something.
Something like that. Okay,
Yeah.
middle of the month. They are releasing this game. There's so much hype about it. And over the course of the next few days, they're going to be releasing rankings for the best offenses in the game, the best defenses, all the team rankings. Tomorrow, they're going to release their deep dive on sights and sounds of the game. So, LSU submitted Neck, and you can hear Neck as you're playing, and the fight songs. And in South Carolina, you can hear Sandstorm and all this stuff. Today, they released their list and their rankings of the toughest places to play. As I was telling you earlier, if you ever had played this game before, when you play at one of these tough stadiums, like your controller shakes a lot, and it's hard to call audibles.
Yeah, you can't see like the outline of your play. If you have a freshman quarterback, their attributes get way worse.
Yes.
It genuinely affects the game. One of the many reasons it's the greatest sports video game series of all time.
So on this list, there is exactly one school in the new Big 12. One
of the top 25.
One of the top 25.
There are as many Mountain West Conference schools as there are Big 12 schools.
Yes, Albertsons Stadium, the Smurf Turf at Boise, it's 24th out of 25. Here's your top 10. From 10 to 1, Ben Hill Griffin Stadium, the Swamp at Florida. That used to be number 1 in the games back in the day. I think in 07, that was number 1.
Yeah, because Florida was good. Remember that?
Oh, I do remember that.
Florida football being good?
Billy Napier, what are you doing? Number 9, Doak Campbell, Florida State. Okay. Number 8, Gaylord Family Memorial Stadium, Oklahoma. 7, Camp Randall. Yeah. Okay, fair. Beaver Stadium, Penn State, Happy Valley, 6. All right. Sanford Stadium, Georgia, number 5. Ohio Stadium, Ohio State, 4. Tiger Stadium, Death Valley at LSU, 3. Bryant-Denny Stadium, Alabama, 2. No. I know that's not better than Death Valley. I know that for sure. Number 1's Kyle Field at Texas A&M. What? What?
I mean, this is a list that would have made a lot of sense if they had made an NCAA football 15. I don't remember what the list of the toughest places to play on NCAA football 14 was, but if they just got from 14 to 15 and this was the list to start NCAA football 15, then yeah, I'd buy it. But a lot of things have happened in college football since 2014, 2015. Among them, Texas A&M, they lose at home a lot.
Yeah.
Not a lot, but for the toughest place to play, I get that it is loud and big. It seats over 100,000. Very clearly, stadium size is a major factor here.
Yeah.
Because it's all SEC and Big Ten.
Yes. All massive. Kyle Field seats over 100,000. Beaver Stadium seats over 100,000. Oklahoma Memorial Stadium seats 85, 90.
Yeah.
The Horseshoe seats 90, I think. Sanford Stadium's close to 85, 90. So obviously, stadium size matters when it comes to this here. But I'm sorry, that's not the toughest place to play. Because if we're the toughest place to play, Texas A&M would never lose there.
Yeah, Jackson on YouTube mentions Texas A&M is 24-20 versus the SEC at home since they joined the conference. What home field advantage?
No kidding.
What are you talking about? That's not a home field advantage at all. The one Big 12 team that made this list is Utah. Number 18, Rice-Eccles Stadium.
And you know what? I agree with that.
Yeah.
I think that is going to be the hardest place to play in the new Big 12.
I agree. I think that it's going to be a very difficult place to play. I would have put it a whole lot higher on this list.
I would have too.
Y'all have never been to Stillwater. I'm going to tell you that right now. Nobody who put this together has ever been to Stillwater, Oklahoma when the sun sets. Because that place is nasty to play.
You know where else is hard to play? Lubbock.
See, if they really wanted to go all in, Lubbock, if you played a day game, no factor at all. Lubbock, if you play a night game, every receiver's catch rating way down, fumble ability way riskier. Every quarterback throws more picks.
Your playbook is in Farsi.
Yeah, you can't read anything. Tortillas are flying on the field. Yeah, this list stinks. It's
So,
very bad.
Like, Kyle Field is loud and rowdy when Texas A&M is good and it's a big game, but it's not like oh man, we got to go. We got to go play there. That's a loss. Like, there are some stadiums on this list where if you are scheduled to go play that team at that stadium, you just assume you're not going to win.
Mm-hmm.
Like LSU Tiger Stadium, that would be number one on my list. I don't know about you guys, but I would put Death Valley number one hardest place to play in college football, particularly at night.
I would put number 1 and 2 in either order. I would put Tiger Stadium and Beaver Stadium. I'd put LSU and Penn State 1 and 2.
I'd put Outson Stadium in my top 3, Oregon, because it's about the atmosphere. It's about the volume. Like, Outson Stadium's not as big as Kyle Field, but like, you go to Oregon, you feel like you're not beating Oregon at Oregon.
I have a little bias here because I've been to a game there. The most underrated one that is actually on the list is Williams-Brice Stadium in South Carolina. None of these other buildings literally shake. Now, is that an engineering problem? Sure. But none of these other buildings literally shake when it gets loud.
I will say I'm interested to see Virginia Tech's Lane Stadium's the team coming out.
I don't know if they got Enter Sandman or not.
It doesn't sound like they've gotten a lot of songs for the game that are specific to
because they got to
one
get
team.
they got to get the rights to the
yes,
songs too.
Like, don't expect Country Roads, unfortunately.
Yeah, I saw
what
that.
I have heard.
That's
don't
a
expect
bummer.
Country Roads. I wouldn't expect Enter Sandman, but Sandstorm is in the game.
Yeah,
that's been confirmed. So that'll be fun for Williams-Brice Stadium. Like, Spartan Stadium at Michigan State is on here.
No.
What?
That stadium is hideous. That's unrelated to this discussion. That stadium is hideous.
Yeah.
Really ugly stadium. Like, every single stereotype about the Rust Belt exists in that stadium, and really all of East Lansing.
Michigan Stadium and Notre Dame Stadium, like, I get lots of history, big stadiums, but those are wine and cheese crowds.
Dude, Notre Dame Stadium, I went to Notre Dame Boston College in, I think it was 2012. I believe it was 2012.
Mm-hmm.
And I was super excited to be at the game. Like, you go to Notre Dame Stadium, you see Touchdown Jesus. Like, it's a big thing. It was the Holy War. It was regular Catholics versus Jesuits. Like, it was a whole thing. That crowd sucked. That is one of the most disappointing crowds I've ever been a part of. Like, I thought this place was rowdy. No, not at all. It had like weird church insults behind me, and that was it. Like, the fans started throwing marshmallows at one point, but not really like on the field, just kind of at each other. It was very disappointing.
Yeah, to me, those are wine and cheese crowds. Those are not like intimidating buildings to go play in. Like, we've disparaged just about most of these stadiums on this list. Like, obviously there are some places that are in fact hard to play at, but again, that's how I judge it. Not by size, not even necessarily by like, is the team good right now? Just like, if you go there, do you think you can win?
All right, here's a question.
The
for you.
psychology of it.
Not necessarily pertaining to this list, although my answer does. What is the most overrated, like, crowd or team hype thing in college football? Like, what environment is the most overrated? Not including Kyle Field at Texas A&M.
Alabama.
That's a cult, man. Like, the Texas A&M thing is just creepy.
It's bizarre. I agree. Like, Bryant Denny is loud, but by SEC standards, it's not like special.
Have you seen the pictures of the stadium when they're playing teams that
folks don't show up?
Yeah, that aren't going to contend in the SEC.
Yeah, it's not full.
No.
Most overrated thing. It's Country Roads. That's not a good song.
City
come
boy
on.
bias.
It's not even about West Virginia. It's about the western part of Virginia.
Good. What are you, Thomas Jefferson?
You sound like me when I was at my last job giving crap to the guy who loves West Virginia.
It's a slow song. It's a dirge. It sounds like
it's fun to sing
before a soccer game when Liverpool fans sing "You'll Never Walk Alone." That's way better because the whole stadium sings.
Have you guys seen in college
Country
football?
Roads is overrated. There, I said it.
Awful.
College football 25. Are they going to have all the bowl game locations?
I think so.
They're not going to have like the baseball stadiums. Probably.
Yeah.
But I mean, like, are they going to have like the Cotton Bowl?
I think so.
The Red River Rivalry.
I think they are.
Okay, that'd be good.
That's my expectation anyway.
That'd be good.
The answer, by the way, you're both wrong. The answer is by far Clemson Memorial Stadium. They touch a rock. It's like if
and then run down the hill. No, that's sick.
No, dude, it's literally a piece of rock. There's nothing special about Howard's Rock.
Have you seen the behind the scenes they did? I think it was either last year or the year before.
They come walking from out of the stadium. Now that's
it's lame as hell. It is.
They get in a bus.
Wrong.
They get in a bus from their locker room, drive around, and then get out right there and then run down.
Lame.
I-
It's so lame.
I wanted to
Oh,
say,
sick. You can drive a bus. Cool. Every other team in college football can too.
I wanted to say the whiteout at Beaver Stadium, but no, actually that is
No,
cool as
that's
hell,
sick.
I regret to say.
That's awesome.
Yeah. I think I'm going to go to Beaver Stadium next year.
That'd be cool.
Marshall plays non-con game Labor Day
Oh, that'd be
weekend.
fun.
That'd be awesome. That'd be
Yeah.
really cool. That's one of the ones that
And
I
my
would say, like,
girlfriend
I've
loves
got
Penn
to
State,
see.
so
Real quick, we in agreement? Utah, toughest place to play in the Big 12?
yeah.
Probably.
I think it's going to be. What's the second toughest?
Um,
If you say Stillwater?
I would say Stillwater. I think K-State can be, but I don't think that's an every week thing. Like Stillwater, I think they get rowdy every
Mhm.
week. The Bill can be crazy.
Yeah, like if you were tiering the list, I would say like Utah and maybe Oklahoma State tier 1, and then I'd put K-State solidly on tier 2.
I agree.
Texas Tech and I don't know, man. Like when they're good, Folsom Field can like vibrate.
Yeah.
They just haven't been good for 20 years.
Yeah. I would
and
agree.
you have the altitude too. Like that, to me, that's a major factor.
Oh, for sure.
BYU's tier 2, maybe even tier 1, to be honest. Maybe I'm shortchanging BYU.
I would say Arizona is not in one of those top tiers, but I have watched games where they can get pretty fired up down when they're, I mean, they got to be good, which is not often.
No,
but
sure ain't.
but there have been years like those Anu Solomon seasons before his brain melted out of his ears and suddenly he forgot how to play.
Shout out Khalil Tate.
Yeah, those early Sumlin teams, those crowds were rowdy.
Yeah.
They just aren't very good very often, so it doesn't stay consistent. We'll talk some more Big 12 football in the 4 o'clock hour. We're going to draft stables of Big 12 quarterbacks. We'll also talk to Michael Swain for Jayhawk Weekly, and we've got What Is Wrong With You. It's all next hour right here on 580 Sports Talk, live from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. We're halfway home on a Tuesday edition of 580 Sports Talk. I'm Brendan Dworzinski. Across the table from me is Dan Lucero. On the other side of the glass now is Spencer Dupuis. We fired Trenton Kraxner. I am just kidding. We did not fire Trenton Kraxner. Trenton is going to the Royals game tonight.
Yeah.
So we let him off early.
To go see the Seth Lugo experience.
We are going to make him scrub toilets and mop all the floors and vacuum the carpets tomorrow. And then shampoo the carpets, maybe. I'm just kidding. We would not do that.
My microphone could use some polishing.
Hey, you see my car out there? You know how dirty that is? No, we would not do that to Trenton. Hope he enjoys the game. Hope he brings home the Royals a win. He did say he's 1-1 going to games this year. He does have to bring home a win. That is the requirement. You cannot leave early to go to the Royals game and have them lose to the Marlins. That is not acceptable.
Seeing Seth Lugo against Marlins right-hander Yanni Honeynut Chirinos.
I was going through the stats earlier. We'll preview this game a little bit more in the 5 o'clock hour. He has been productive at times in his career. That does not include last season when he was among the worst pitchers in baseball, sabermetrically and basic counting stats, both included in that analysis. He was very, very bad. So we'll talk to Trenton coming up on Thursday. We have a short show tomorrow because the Royals have a day game. It is the day getaway day finale against the Miami Marlins. So short show tomorrow, full shows on Thursday and Friday this week.
Our special ticket giveaway winners going tomorrow, right?
That's right. Tomorrow is Diamond Club Day.
Yeah.
Our guy Tyler, who won those on the show last week. We'll have more Royals tickets to give away. Gave a pair away to Robert from Topeka last hour. We'll, of course, have more Royals tickets to give away throughout the rest of the season at the DM Injury Law ticket window here on 580 Sports Talk, brought to you, of course, by DM Injury Law. Here in this 4 o'clock hour of the show, we've got our Big 12 quarterback draft here coming up momentarily. We also have today's What Is Wrong With You and Jayhawk Weekly with Michael Swain. That's coming up at the bottom of the hour. Your texts are welcome to the Top City Metal Supply text line, 785-272-9429. From construction sites to renovations, from the farm to the garage, Top City Metal Supply understands the value of precision and cost efficiency. No more wasted money, no more wasted materials, just metal cut to the exact size you need. Top City Metal Supply is located on South Topeka Boulevard, just north of Forbes Field. You can also leave us a comment on our 580 Sports Talk YouTube stream. All right, let's get to our Big 12 quarterback draft. I wanted to do this after we had the Garrett Green discussion yesterday. Garrett Green's not a bad quarterback. I think he's a fine to even good college football quarterback. But this conference, the Big 12, is a great quarterback conference going into this year. Bunch of old dudes, bunch of dudes who've been productive, guys like Avery Johnson who have ceilings higher than maybe anybody else. It's a great league of quarterbacks. So what we're going to do, 4 rounds. We're each going to get 4. We are going to draft quarterbacks from the Big 12 and see who can come up with the best stable of Big 12 quarterbacks.
So when you say draft, like if you drafted Shedeur Sanders, nobody else can get him?
Correct.
Exactly.
Okay.
So 2 things we have to come up with here. 1, are we going to do a snake draft, or are we just going to go 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3?
I think you go snake draft, don't you?
Yeah. All right. That's fine with me.
Fairest way to go.
Does anyone want to take the first pick?
No, but can I read the text that I got an hour ago?
Please.
This is from somebody back east, a diehard Mountaineer fan.
Okay.
Man, you and your boys are hard on my man, GG. When he kicks the blank out of Kansas, I want a shout out. And then I told him the reason that we even had the discussion. He says, you tore my man up, and Sanders is the most overrated in the country.
We'll talk about Shedeur Sanders.
We will get to Shedeur. We will get to him. Does West Virginia play K-State this year?
Yeah, they play both Kansas and K-State.
Why did KU get called out? What the heck? In fact, they both play at Morgantown.
Yeah.
What the heck? Just messing with your guy. I think Garrett Green's good. I think he's a good quarterback. I just think there's much better in this conference. All right, Dan, since you are just returning, still freshly new returning to the show after paternity leave, I will grant you the first pick.
Oh, how kind of you.
Spencer, do you have a preference going second or third?
I'll go third.
All right. I will go second.
I get back to back.
You'll get back to back. Yeah, you two will get to double up. Yeah. I will pick in the middle. All right, Dan, with the first overall pick in our Big 12 starting quarterbacks draft, we're assuming we know the starters, who we assume is going to start for all 16 teams. Who are you taking with the number 1 overall pick?
Noah Fafita from Arizona.
I was wondering if you would go here. So why Fafita over some of the other strong options?
Fafita was awesome last year, completed 72% of his passes down the stretch last year. Remember, he didn't start last year as the starter. Jaden DeLora came into last year as the starter at Arizona, and Fafita was so good they couldn't put DeLora back in the lineup. They just couldn't do it. So Fafita maintained the job and played really, really well. I think he's maybe not like, we're not talking about guys as pro prospects, right? Because like Noah Fafita's 5'10". Like, I don't know that this is an NFL guy necessarily, but guy who makes all the throws. He's tough. He can hang in the pocket. He can make plays outside the pocket. I think he's the best quarterback in the conference. And I feel like I don't have to defend him as strenuously as I would have to defend any other number one pick. This is the one guy where the warts are minimal. You don't have an injury history. You don't have a question of if it's all hype or not. You just have the production from last year, and the production spoke for itself. Noah Fafita, number one pick.
Having McMillan back, too, big for that offense. The fact he's got established weapons.
Oh, yeah.
I think Fafita, I would put, if you were going to give me like who's in the top 4 in terms of highest ceiling for the quarterbacks in this conference, I think I'd pick both Kansas quarterbacks, both Jalen Daniels and Avery Johnson. Avery might have the highest ceiling of anybody, honestly. I think Fafita would be in the same group, though. You're right. I don't know what his pro prospects look like. I know what I saw for Arizona football last year, and he looked fantastic. Now, changed offense this year, obviously, with Jed Fish leaving. He's now at Washington. I like Brent Brennan a lot, though. Can he make the jump from G5 to Power 4? Hard to say. I like him a lot as a head coach, though. I think Fafita is a really good choice. I figured you might go in that direction. With my first pick, I am going to go with a guy who I don't know that there's a whole lot of ceiling left to reach, but I think he might be still the best quarterback in this conference this year. I'm going to go with Cam Rising. Are you injured, or are you worried about the injuries? Yeah. I mean, he's been injured in back-to-back Rose Bowls that he's played in and missed all of last season. He's also old. He also has another year he can take. Did you know that? He can take another year after this year,
I did know
which
that.
would be insane. But I think with Cam Rising, you have a chance to win every single game without question. Or is he as athletic as a Fafita, a Daniels, a Johnson, even a Sanders? No, I don't think so. But he's been productive for a long time. He's a smart quarterback. He is tough as all hell. He's like if Trace McSorley was good. That's what I think of as Cam Rising a little bit.
Okay,
with that kind of toughness.
He's a little bigger
Don't
than McSorley,
disrespect my Loudoun County brethren, Trace McSorley.
I used to tweet every single time Trace McSorley made a play on a national game. I would tweet the new face of grit, Trace McSorley, every single time. I like Trace McSorley. I like Cam Rising better, though. I think Rising's a really good college quarterback, so I'm going to go with him number 2 overall. That brings you up, Spencer. You get back-to-back here with the 3rd and 4th overall of our Big 12 quarterback draft.
Look, he may be a bit overrated, but...
Oh, my God, he's going Garrett Green.
You got to pick Shedeur.
Going with Sanders, okay.
As the number 3, right?
I think there is a defined tier 1 of quarterbacks with the fewest questions about them to answer entering 2024, and I think they've gone 1, 2, and 3. Fafita, Rising, and Sanders.
Yeah. So I've got Sanders, and I think it's there. Like, he's gonna be a guy.
He's got the talent.
He's got the talent, but he's got to put it together on the field.
It's really hard. Some would even say impossible. And I don't begrudge anyone who says it's impossible to look beyond the hype with anything Colorado football, never mind just Shedeur Sanders. But arm talent, unquestioned. And there are some things he has to get better at. He ate the football, took a lot of sacks last year.
Mm-hmm.
Like that can't continue. But they also changed offensive coordinators in the middle of the season on him. I'm sure that didn't help.
No.
But the arm ability, the playmaking ability, the sense of the moment, Shedeur Sanders has all of that. And
I think he might have even been better if his dad wasn't his coach.
there is a reason that, it would be a very different perception of him if his name were Shedeur Jones.
Yeah.
I think if his name were Shedeur Jones and he played at any other school in the country, we would have a very different opinion of we would be able to just talk about the ability, which I think speaks for itself. It just gets drowned out by all of the other stuff.
Exactly.
My complaints would solely be about eating the ball too much and not about the other stuff. I will admit that wholeheartedly. All right, so you get to go back to back here. You get number 3 and number 4.
All right. Jalen Daniels.
Yeah.
I think
I thought he'd go next.
He's got such a huge upside. If he can stay healthy, I think he could be a top 3-4 quarterback in the Big 12 at the end of this season.
I think he's got the ability to be number one, honestly. We've seen the arm strength. We've seen the mobility, the downfield running ability. He makes really good decisions. Over the last 2 years, if anyone would say, I saw this from some K-State fans saying, well, who's the real, linchpin of this KU team? Is it Jalen Daniels or is it Andy Kotelnicki? What's the linchpin of the offense? And, well, Jason Bean's putting up great numbers. I love Jason Bean with my whole heart. The decision-making difference between Jason Bean and Jalen Daniels is like the difference between prime rib and a sausage. Like, it is so completely different. It's incomparable. He's a great college quarterback. Yeah. Sorry to the pups out there. Like, it is just completely different worlds. Jalen Daniels does not make those throws that Bean would sometimes go wild man and make. I think JD is great. The question is, can he hold up? Is his back going to hold up? Is he going to have another major injury because he's had one back-to-back years? And if you remember, when he came back 2 seasons ago, the bowl game, he was great. In the Liberty Bowl against Arkansas, he was insane. Before that, though, the last 2 games of the regular season, he was not very good. He was clearly not all the way back from the shoulder injury, health-wise. So the injuries are the concern. And if he's healthy, he can be the best quarterback in the league.
Exactly.
If he's not, I hope you are ready to go Cole Ballard and Isaiah Marshall. Hope you guys are prepared. This puts me in an interesting spot with number 5. I'm both going to bank on a guy I really like being there for my next pick, and I'm going to bank on the upside. I will go with the other quarterback in the state, the Mays product. I will go with Avery Johnson here. I know there are questions about how good is he as a thrower because we just haven't seen a ton of it so far. He was playing in a fairly limited offensive role a year ago. I get that. I've seen Avery Johnson throw the ball. Granted, in high school competition, I know he's got an arm, guys. You and I, Dan, have seen it up close and personal at the high school level, at the college level. The running ability is special. I think that team is going to be really good around him, which will help. They always have a good line at K-State. I'm going to bank on the upside and go with Avery Johnson here. And I'm pretty comfortable with that middle of the second round.
All right. Yeah, I agree. I think everything has kind of gone in the order I would have expected, I think, to this point. I think that these are pretty, with apologies to our friends in Morgantown and maybe to our friends in some other places as well. But I think would be a lot of agreement that these are the 5 best quarterbacks in the conference.
I was going to say, I don't know that we have many friends in Ames.
No, we have 0 friends in Ames.
All right, Dan, you get to go back-to-back here, end of the second, start of the third.
All right, I get back-to-back picks here. Shout out to our friends in Ames. I'm going with Rocco Beck, Iowa State.
I was hoping he might linger. I think that's a really good pick. I really like his game.
So Rocco Beck, was he co-freshman of the year last year? Or did he win it on his own? Trying to remember if no, he was freshman of the year in the Big 12 last season. 23 touchdown passes. I know maybe not great mobility, but I can live with that. I think that it's a lot of talent there. And just a freshman last year and took command of that team and made them better. Like, we thought after the FanDuel gate or whatever it was, took their projected starting quarterback out, Deckers, out of...
you want to talk about addition by subtraction. Holy cow.
Yeah, no doubt about that. We thought that team was dead in the water.
Yep.
And they ended up a lot better than most people thought they would have been. And I think Beck was a big part of that. And he did well taking care of the football, too. I think that's a pretty big deal. He took care of the ball in a way that, like, Garrett Green, to use an example, really doesn't take care of the ball or pass as accurately as Beck did. 23 to 8 touchdown interception ratio, 63% completion. That's 10 points better than Green. So Beck is my pick there. My next pick.
I have 2 in mind who you're going to pick from here. I'm curious which one you'll go with.
I am going with one of the most experienced starting quarterbacks in the conference, but he's brand new to the conference. KJ Jefferson at UCF is my pick here. And what I'm betting on here is that Jefferson going from offensive coordinator Dan Enos in his last year at Arkansas to offensive coordinator Gus Malzahn is going to result in a return to form, because Jefferson wasn't very good last year at Arkansas. 19 to 8 touchdown interception ratio, worse completion percentage, fewer yards. Like, everything went backwards for Jefferson in the offense for Arkansas last year. But he's a big dude. He's hard to bring down. He's going to be an effective weapon in the rushing game. And in previous seasons, pre-Dan Enos, he was very accurate and he took good care of the football. I think he'll do that again in a Gus Malzahn offense. And I think he's part of the reason why I expect UCF to be a really tough out week in, week out in the league this year. So KJ Jefferson's my pick.
That's a good pick. I like that pick a lot. This league is really deep with quarterbacks. It's a really good quarterback league. My next pick, 8th overall, 3rd pick of the 2nd round, or of the 3rd round, excuse me. We're going to do 4 rounds here, 4 quarterbacks each. I'm going to bank on Spencer not taking a guy I like a little bit later on. So I am going to go here, and this one's tough for me. I am going to go with Donovan Smith. I think that's a little risky here. Again, kind of an upside play. Donovan Smith's good is really good. Now, he hasn't always gotten to that really good, but last year, he was top 4 in the conference in touchdown passes, top 4 in the conference in completion percentage as well, and he ran for over 400 yards and 6 touchdowns on the ground too. Had a surgery this offseason, but he's a senior. Willie Fritz is a great college football coach. I think he's going to help out Donovan Smith even more than Dana was, who at one point was a great quarterback coach. So I'm going to bank on Donovan Smith at Houston here. They might not be very good, but I think he is in line for a good season. All right, Spencer, you get your final 2 picks here back to back.
Yep, we're going to go at number 9 overall, Q Country Roads, Garrett Green.
I thought you might go Garrett Green.
I do have to say he's going into his final year of eligibility. I think their backup, the next in line, the guy in waiting, Nico Marchiol, has a better upside than Garrett Green.
Everything I've heard about Marchiol is very positive.
So if this is next year and it's Nico's team, he might be gone in the top 5.
That's a bold pick. I've heard really good things about him.
If he were that good, wouldn't he have won the job? Like, could he have won it last year? Like, if he's...
In fairness, we are talking about Neil Brown here.
Yeah. He played a little bit last year.
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah, he did get in a little bit.
I think I remember him running a disastrous trick play against Penn State.
Yeah.
Yes, you are correct about that. All right, there are some good ones still on the board here for these final 3 picks. Who you got for number 10 overall?
I'm going to go with the Toledo transfer to Baylor, Juan Finn. He's a 2023 MAC Player of the Year. Obviously, you go from the MAC to the Big 12. Huge difference there. But I do think he is a top 10 worthy quarterback in this league.
Very talented. Very, very talented. My hang up with Finn, and maybe if we're doing this completely devoid of context, maybe that's an even better pick. I think Baylor's going to stink. I think they're going to be really bad this year. But
he'll be one of the lone bright spots on their team.
Totally fair. I was actually hoping you were going to let him through.
Well, I was going to go with your boy Donovan Smith.
Okay, well, there you go. Tit for tat then.
Yeah.
All right, so that leaves me with 2 guys to pick from here. My apologies to Gary Bohannon at BYU. Can you believe he is there? It's either going to be him or Retzlaff who's there, which, yikes, that's not a good room at all. Jake Retzlaff, cool story. But, yikes, that's not a good room for Kalani Sitake. I will go with, man, do I go for upside or do I go for age here? Which one do I want to bank on? I'll go for upside. I'll go Baron Morton at Texas Tech. The lows with Baron Morton are kind of terrifying, but I do like, again, the upside, the plus. When he was on last year, there were some flashes like, whoa, this looks like a Kingsbury era, like a Leach era kind of quarterback. I think he's got a lot of skill. Highest rated quarterback recruit to ever go to Texas Tech. I'm worried about the downside, but I'll go with Morton. I already took one really old guy.
Yeah, I was going to take Morton here if he fell to me. I think the upside there is substantial. He was really good as a freshman. Worry about the injury. Like, is he even going to, I don't think he participated in spring practice.
Is he going to make it to week 1?
Yeah. Is he going to get to week 1? I think it's a real question for Texas Tech. For my final pick, I'm taking TCU's Josh Hoover.
Interesting.
He had some big games. And I worry about ball security with him a little bit, but you're at the point of the draft where you worry about ball security with all of these guys.
Of course.
He was the starter second half of last year. He had 2 games where he threw for over 400 yards, 15 touchdowns to 9 picks in his 6 starts. I like it. I like that level of production, especially when you're kind of put on the spot. Who did he replace? Not Shuck. What's the name of the kid he replaced? Chandler Morris?
Yeah, Chandler Morris.
Yeah.
Schrodinger's quarterback.
So to jump in mid-year and to put up the kind of numbers that he did to show he was ready to hit the ground running, that tells me that the upside is worth gambling on. So, yeah, I'm going with Josh Hoover here, which means we did not draft Alan Bowman.
We did not take Alan Bowman.
Let's start there. We did not draft Alan Bowman. Alan Bowman threw 14 picks last year.
Yeah.
Like, I know that team won a lot, and the quarterback always gets credit when the team wins.
Mm-hmm.
Alan Bowman's bad. I'm sorry.
I mean, that might be the hang-up. When I keep asking these guys we have on the show, I asked Shahan Jayaraja last week.
Yeah.
We've talked to other guys who cover college football, and I say, what am I missing with Oklahoma State? Maybe it's just that. Maybe it's Bowman is not good. He's just old. That could be the argument there.
I hate that you guys stuck me with the first pick because there are 5 quarterbacks I rate above. The drop-off from 5 to 6, steep.
Yeah, I mean, I was there in the back end.
I think
I was like, I got to go with Garrett Green.
Yeah, I think 1 to 5 is a tier, a steady fall off to 6, and then a really sharp fall off to 7 after that from back. The other guys we did not pick, so Alan Bowman, Brendan Sorsby from Cincinnati, transfer from Indiana. Oh man, that might be ugly this year in Cincinnati. That I hope you rented. Hope you Satterfield, Scott Satterfield. Yeah. Sam Levitt at Arizona State. I would have never guessed that in a million years. You know who he's battling for that job with?
I do not.
Jeff Sims.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh no.
Kenny Dillingham, my prayers are with you, brother. Oh my. And then whoever wins the job at BYU is either Bohannon or Retzlaff. That yuck. That's tough. The top 12 in this league is pretty good at quarterback.
Yeah.
The bottom 4. Not so great. Your picks, your favorite quarterback in the Big 12, maybe outside of Daniels and Avery Johnson. Let us know either on the YouTube comment section or on the Top City Metal Supply text line. We have to get to a timeout to pay some bills. What is wrong with you is coming up next. And then Michael Swain later to this hour here on 580 Sports Talk live from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. for What Is Wrong With You on 580 Sports Talk, live from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. Our winner from yesterday's show, our guy Vance on YouTube, nicknamed him the T-Bone Bomber, a guy who called in a bomb threat from a Publix grocery store in Florida to try to get the store and the cops distracted while he stole $375 worth of meat. And then he was apprehended later in a traffic stop. Bro, drive slowly and just get home. What are we doing? All right, we've got 2 news stories today. I will go first today. This one's great. From Martin County, Florida, where police arrested 33-year-old Colton Van Honenstein for a quote-unquote bank robbery on Saturday night. Now, why is that in quotes? Von Honenstein realized that a Wells Fargo bank in Martin County was left unlocked after closing. So he checked the door, ran across the street to a gas station, bought a mask, and then walked back across the street and into the bank. He did not find anything of value in the drawers or cabinets, so he split from the scene. However, when he walked in, a silent alarm alerted police, who arrived long after he had already left. Oddly, the alarm company told police they had waited a full hour before calling authorities. Quote, because security footage clearly captured images of the suspect buying the mask used in this incident, he was located and arrested this afternoon, according to police in Martin County.
So that came out Friday, right? At 12:40. I'm pretty sure that was my Friday one before I switched it.
Oh, it must have been before
Yeah.
you switched stories. That's right.
Yeah.
This is great.
The real What Is Wrong? Who leaves a bank unlocked?
Yeah, that's a major whoops. I guess if you've got the silent alarm, that's helpful, but you never know what someone might grab. I'm glad they put everything away. But yeah, that's phenomenal. Let me go buy a mask and come right back over.
An impromptu bank robbery. Like, hey, man, when opportunity knocks.
Oh, shoot, I was just going out of the bar, but I mean,
hey, I got a chance to go rob this bank.
yeah, I might as well try.
Let me go hit for this lick real quick.
Yeah, I mean,
And then he found nothing.
I hope you're hungry for nothing.
Oh, man.
All right, Dan, what's your story today?
All right. We're going to Florida, but it's a New Jersey story because the man in question is from New Jersey. He faces an attempted murder charge after he allegedly flew to Florida and attacked a fellow video gamer with a hammer over an online dispute.
Oh, no.
The two had never met in person before. The suspect showed up at the victim's home in Fernandina Beach over the weekend, apparently to confront the victim. The incident is believed to have originated from an online altercation, said Nassau County Sheriff Bill Leeper, calling the case, quote, a weird one.
I'll say.
I bet so. This is like the Meet Me in Temecula, except for
nerds.
Yeah, for nerds. The suspect is 20-year-old Edward Kang. That might be wrong. Apologies. Edward Kang allegedly gained entry into the victim's home through an unlocked door and, wearing all black clothes, gloves, and a mask, attacked him with a hammer when the victim got up from gaming to use the bathroom late Saturday or early Sunday. The victim, who's believed to be around the same age, was able to wrestle his assailant to the ground. He and his stepfather were able to disarm the suspect and restrain him until deputies arrived. Upon arrival, they discovered a significant amount of blood in the entryway of the home and the victim's bedroom. The victim sustained severe head wounds during the assault and has since been released from the hospital. Kang was booked and charged with attempted second-degree murder and armed burglary. When asked about a motive in the assault, Kang allegedly told deputies the victim is a, quote, bad person online. He also allegedly asked how much jail time he received for breaking and entering an assault. Leeper said, I would say, Mr. Kang, it will be a long time before you play any more video games. The victim and suspect allegedly knew each other from the online video game ArcAge. The Korean massively multiplayer online role-playing game will no longer be accessible in the United States as of Thursday, as the publisher cited a declining number of active players.
Wow.
So this guy got on an airplane to go kill someone with a hammer over some video games.
That's not going to be...
And not even a cool video game.
Yeah, and this video
Not
game is
even
not going to be here anymore.
Not even like Fortnite or 2K.
No.
I guess he had to do it because this video game was going to be gone from the U.S.
Yeah, I mean, he had to get it in before it was gone.
One last chance to settle the score.
Yeah.
All right, real quick, who you got winning today?
Guy got on a plane to attack someone with a hammer over some video games.
Yeah.
Yeah, and at no point thought maybe this is a bad idea. He just kept going through with it. I'm with you. Does that beat the T-Bone Bomber?
Absolutely
No.
not. He called
No.
a bomb threat to steal meat.
You with that one as well? All right, we're going to keep it. The T-Bone Bomber, it wins again today in What Is Wrong With You. We have to get to a break. Jayhawk Weekly with Michael Swain is next. This is 580 Sports Talk. Joining us for Jayhawk Weekly here on 580 Sports Talk via the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline is Michael Swain, who covers the Kansas Jayhawks over at fog.net and for 24/7 Sports. Go follow him on Twitter as well at mswain247. Michael, how thankful are you that a dead period is on the horizon for high school football recruiting?
I'm pretty pleased, and I need to encourage every recruit that I know, all the recruits listening to this show. Don't commit on 4th of July. Save us all. Let's just save it till the 5th, or maybe let's do it this week. Get it over with. So, no, I'm pretty happy, and I think it's been a pretty good month for KU football in the high school recruiting front. And now it's going to be about kind of closing strong, and then all eyes are going to turn to fall camp here in about a month and a half's time. Should
KU be happy, be thrilled, be excited about the group that they've had commit over the last 3 weeks?
I think so. I think, this day and age, right, a lot of these classes come together in the month of June. And you looked at KU's class, start of the month, 4 guys committed with a goal of, I think at the end of the day, an ideal scenario would be about 17 to 18 commits in the class, just based on the numbers for kind of each position. And KU right now has 14 commits, right? So 10 guys committed, and they're definitely still in the mix for a few more who will decide probably in the next couple of weeks. So I think you look back at the month, filling some needs along the defensive line, right? Getting 2 defensive line or defensive end commits, a defensive tackle commit, that's really big. I think that second weekend, when we look back in December, will really be the time when it changed, because that was really when KU got the players that felt like they were really in the best position to get. And that's really important in recruiting, because those are the times when if you let a couple of those get away from you, all of a sudden you're swimming upstream, and it's really hard to overcome that with some more high caliber players. So I think overall, KU's class has a lot of guys that I think have those traits that Lance Leipold and his coaching staff have really looked for at their specific positions. And I think that in and of itself is really exciting, even if, there's been some discussions on the message boards, right? Hey, is this as good as last year? In terms of the offer list, maybe not as extensive, but I think in terms of the traits and the things that KU's looking for, I think it checks all those boxes.
The wide receiver room added a couple of players this weekend, and KU really needs to have a strong year recruiting-wise, because you've got maybe the best wide receiver room in the Big 12, and they're all leaving after this year. Arnold, Skinner, Grimm, they're all done after this year. You need some more depth beyond that. You need to build for the future. Do you think KU, for the most part, so far, has accomplished what it's needed to restock that wide receiver room?
I think, and look, a lot of this will come down to what happens in the portal, right? Because I think so far the 2 guys KU's gotten, Jackson Cook and Tate Nagy, I think those 2 are guys that are probably more long-term developmental pieces, right? Guys that you expect to be in the program for, 4 to 5 years, developing kind of those first 2 years, and maybe in their 3rd year, take that big kind of leap forward to being contributors. So I think in terms of 2025, right, I think that's going to be to be determined in the portal in the fall. But, they're still in the mix for some guys, and we'll see what happens. I think most notably Isaiah Mosey, who is currently committed to Oregon but took an official to KU. He's someone that is going to kind of think over that decision and his commitment to Oregon. You got to remember that his dad is now on staff at UCF, and I don't, outside of going to Washington, I don't know if there's a further program away from UCF than Oregon. And obviously, his family still lives in Lee Summit. So that's something that maybe could help KU with Mosey. And then, guys like Gabe Daniels, Muiz Tonkura is another one at Texas who KU's still involved with. So, there's probably one more spot for high school guys, unless you're Mosey. And I think if Mosey calls Kansas to commit, you take them, regardless of what your numbers look like. So right now, it seems like those are kind of the 3 I'm watching right now, and we'll see kind of how those things shake out in the next kind of week or 2 weeks as everyone kind of gets back home, sits down with the family, and really discusses and hashes out kind of what they saw during the month of June and where they want to go.
This is Jayhawk Weekly on 580 Sports Talk. Michael Swain of fog.net joining us via the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline, as he does every Tuesday at this time. For all the best coverage of all things KU, head over to fog.net. It's part of 24/7 Sports. Go be a VIP. We are all VIPs to 24/7 here. It is absolutely 100% worth it for all the best inside scoops on KU football recruiting, basketball, and everything in between. And I wanted to follow up on what you just mentioned there, Michael. How big is this class going to be in all likelihood, and how big would it be at its maximum? Because now that, the the limits about how many guys you can take year to year have changed over time. And obviously with the portal, things have changed with time too. Is this pretty much, hey, we've got 2 more open spots and then we're done no matter what? Or how flexible are Lance Leipold and staff going to be with these final numbers?
Yeah, well, so everything that I think this coaching staff is very detail oriented. Everything is by position group, scholarship count. It's not necessarily by a broad, we want to take this many players. It's, hey, for example, like we want 3 wide receivers, we want 2 defensive ends, we want 1 defensive tackle. And they play by that rule. And so, you can look at a position like tight end where KU got Joseph Skipworth committed. Well, I think there was a world in which KU maybe would take 2 tight ends. Well, that doesn't really seem super likely right now unless they find kind of a late rising guy in the fall who they want to take. So then that kind of changes the number a little bit. So I think you look at the needs that are left, right? Wide receiver is one, cornerback is a huge one. The KU's still looking for offensive line. And so right now you look at it, right? I think it's 14 commits. I think probably 17 is probably going to be my guess of where things probably end up. Maybe 16. And then, if someone like Mosey, right, he's kind of a non-negotiable. He's a take regardless of what happens. So I think really 18 is probably going to be close to the limit because you got to remember too, right? I think KU's guaranteed to lose 28 players, and I think they want to save about double-digit scholarships for the portal. So, it's going to come down to kind of, 10, 11 portal scholarships, which means kind of 17, 18 high school guys.
Our guest is Michael Swain of Fog.net, part of the 24/7 Sports Network. He joins us every Tuesday at this time for Jayhawk Weekly on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits hotline here on 580 Sports Talk. Check out Michael's work at Fog.net. Find him on Twitter at mswain247. Shifting gears from football recruiting to basketball recruiting, is it about the time where KU's starting to kind of hone in on the guys they really think they have the best shot bringing in to be part of their freshman class of 2025?
Yes and no. I think for the elite talents, right, your 5-star guys, Darius Acuff, Darren Peterson, Bryson Tiller are kind of 3 of the guys that KU's really deep in with right now. I think these evaluation periods that are going on right now, and Bill Self was just down in Arizona for the Section 7 event. A lot of this is, right, being able to see who really do you want to prioritize in getting those visits in September for football games when a lot of those guys look to take their kind of senior year visits before the signing period in November. And so right now, I think some of the board is probably still up in the air. There are the guys that I think are surefire targets, right? Again, Peterson, Acuff, Tiller. There are probably a couple others in there who are in kind of that surefire list, but it's still something that I think is going to be worked out as, Self and the coaches are all out on the road, getting to see these guys play more and more and getting a better feel for kind of who fits what KU wants and also just who is showing that, mutual interest in KU. It's not always a surefire thing that just because KU's going after a guy that, hey, they're going to, show that mutual interest right back. So I think a lot of this is still going to be kind of felt out in the next kind of week or two and into July as those kind of July live periods come, and obviously Peach Jam being kind of the last one.
This is not to say that Kansas or any other school has not prioritized recruiting high school talent the last few years, but a lot of attention has been on the portal in recent years. And with this season being the last one for the COVID group of players, it's almost like you're going to lose 2 senior classes at once this coming year. And it will be the last time that's the case. Do you get a sense that this particular recruiting class of high school freshmen is being a little bit more prioritized, knowing that teams, the talent pool won't be as deep in the transfer portal. So if you're going to get some high-end talent and develop some players, you got to maybe beat the streets a little harder than you were when it comes to high school recruiting. I guess what I'm asking is, do you sense it's more competitive in the high school recruiting this year than maybe it had been the last couple of years where more teams were maybe starting to look more heavily at the portal?
Well, I think for different programs, yes. I think just KU and you look at some of the other elite college basketball programs, they kind of operate in a different space. You look at the top high school basketball players, right? That's always going to be really competitive for those guys because everyone will take some of the best high school talent. And for a program like KU, I still think they're going to go back to the portal and be big in the portal next year, right? There's no way KU isn't going to take 4 to 5 portal guys next year. You look at what they lose. Right. There's just no world in which that's not going to happen. So I think it's going to impact more of those mid-tier Big 12 programs that have relied on some of those older transfers. We can use, Kansas State, for example, like Tyler Perry, right? That's someone that, in terms of his age, right, K-State is able to get him because he's been at, Texas for a while and then wants to transfer to another place because he's got, he's basically at the end of his career and wants to go make that jump. Well, that works for Kansas State, where for KU, it's a different level of guy, right? It's Rylan Griffin from Alabama, who has multiple years left. And it's AJ Storr from Wisconsin, who has multiple years left. I think it's just a different setting, landscape for some of those top programs like KU, where I don't know if having the COVID years evaporate is going to really impact what KU does or impact their decision making, because they're just continually going to operate at recruiting the best players in the portal and the best players in high school. And I think any given year, they might get more high school players that are elite than portal players. And I think for this offseason, I think there's going to be a mix where KU is going to try and get some of the best high school talent. And then when the portal comes around next year, they're going to try and get the best portal talent, because they've got so many spots that are going to come open after this year. There's going to be so many minutes available that's going to be really attractive to recruit guys. So I think it's just kind of a different – every program is a different situation. I think for KU, they just kind of operate in a bubble to some degree with talent, where it doesn't matter that there's going to be COVID years gone. They're just always going to recruit those top-tier talented players.
From potential future Jayhawks to former Jayhawks, the NBA draft coming up tomorrow and Thursday night. Johnny Furphy, consensus first-round talent going in the first round every mock draft. A lot of mock drafts have Kevin McCullough going in the second round. What fits do you think make the most sense for Furphy and McCullough as they start their pro journeys?
Yeah, I think we'll start with McCullough. I think he's someone that if he can land in a spot that's in a win now situation, I think I just think for Kevin, going somewhere that's got a lot of young guys that's trying to build something, that doesn't feel like the right type of fit for who he is. He's the type of player that I think could go to a team in the Eastern Conference, maybe like, the Indiana Pacers, and help them being a bench piece, right? A guy that plays maybe 10 minutes a game and can just provide some depth. I think that's a huge thing that I think will be a great fit for him. I think for Furphy, it's really interesting because I think he probably would, it's a two-way street here, because on one hand, you'd say, maybe he would fit a better team, right? Going maybe late lottery, mid first round, where he isn't going to be required to play a bunch as a rookie or in his first kind of 2 years. That feels like a good spot. But then on the other hand, you could say, hey, well, maybe he should go to a really, really young team that is building something so that he can get those reps and he can be someone that builds and grows with the core of young players. So I think for Furphy, I'm really fascinated to see where he lands, because I think you can make an argument either way that it could be successful for him. It's just so hard to predict, right, based on what we've seen, where it is kind of just a roll of the dice, where you don't always know how a setup is going to go, right? It's not always going to be guaranteed to be, Christian Brown to the Nuggets. Sometimes it's going to be like Ochai to the Cavs, where it's kind of a weird fit. They end up trading him. He ends up getting traded again, right? And so for Furphy, I think it's just kind of, I think if I could pick the ideal scenario for him, I think it would be a more kind of experienced team where he can come in and be someone that can learn from those experienced guys, play a little bit of a role early, and then as those guys age out, he can grow into being, I think, a really, really good role player in the NBA.
How quickly do you think that can happen, Michael?
I think it's going to be a year or two. I think physically, right, we saw with Johnny, he's just got to develop. He's got to develop physically. You saw him hit the wall, kind of in late February into March, and he really does need to get stronger. He needs to get bigger. And I think for him, it's going to be about also, can he just have that, I don't want to say mental resiliency, but just kind of that killer instinct almost, where it felt like things kind of spiraled for him a little bit, as all the hype built up for him. And then as he started to struggle, it didn't feel like maybe all of that, went the best way for him. And so I think developing that instinct as well could be really important. I think some of that comes with confidence, and I think you can get that confidence from playing with really experienced players who can tell you how to get there and get to that spot mentally. So I think it's going to take him a couple of years to get there, just because I think he is taking advantage of this being a terrible draft. And I think in any other draft, he's probably going back to Kansas for another year of development.
The best coverage of the Kansas Jayhawks comes from Michael Swain of Fog.net and 24/7 Sports. Again, absolutely recommend going and subscribing to VIP at 24/7. Worth it for all the best scoops on all things KU. You can find Michael as well on Twitter at mswain247. He joins us every Tuesday for Jayhawk Weekly on the Fleming Place Wine and Spirits Hotline. Enjoy the draft the next 2 nights, Michael, and enjoy a little bit of downtime these next few days.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Talk to you next week.
That's Michael Swain from Fog.net. Great stuff, as always, on the Kansas Jayhawks. And that's going to do it for the 4 o'clock hour of 580 Sports Talk today. Come on back after the news. We have our 580 Sports Talk headlines. Wild Chiefs news today, and we'll get you ready for Royals Marlins. That's coming up on 580 Sports Talk, live from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. now, final hour of 580 Sports Talk going up on a Tuesday. I'm Brendan Dorzinski. That's Dan Lucero. That is Spencer Dupuis. We are here with you until 6 o'clock today when we will send you off to the Royals Radio Network. Royals baseball in action tonight. Game 2 against the Miami Marlins. Are the Marlins the team that bungled their old uniform and colors the worst of any team in recent memory?
The original, like, teal.
Yeah.
Not just even like the teal and black from when they won the series in 97. You go look at their 93 uniforms. They had like a vest, a pinstripe vest with teal sleeves. That look has aged extremely well.
Yes, it has.
Like they should honestly go back to that. Right now they look like a failed nightclub that nobody goes to.
Shout out to Electric Circus. Yeah, it's they need to go back to this. The old hats, there's the teal with the fish.
Oh yeah.
Oh my
Those
god.
were heat.
Incredible.
I was the Marlins in Little League when I was 11 and 12. Marlins both summers, and unfortunately it was the black hat. But like the teal F,
it's so
goes
sick.
crazy.
So sick.
Absolutely crazy.
There are some 90s designs that really don't hold up, like at all. That one does. You know what also we are getting less and less of? I was watching some NFL montage on YouTube, like an hour long of like craziest catches since the turn of the millennium or whatever for an hour long.
Those videos sustain me. I watch them while I feed my son.
They're incredible.
3 in the morning.
There are some uniforms, both college and pro, in football specifically, from the early 2000s. How did we ever let teams wear? Like Houston, the Texans for a while were wearing uniforms. Like, these are horrible. Who thought weird underarm stripes were a good idea?
The underarm stripe, the Denver Broncos brought that into existence, and it was a scourge on uniforms. A scourge, I tell you, for 2 decades.
So bad. There were so many that were just terrible. I would always, and I'm biased because my favorite team is like this, I would always rather be a team that never changes. That, like, Alabama football, Penn State football,
the Yankees,
the Packers, nothing ever changes.
The Yankees are the one team with the stroke to tell Nike, yeah, we're not doing a City Connect uniform. Are you kidding me?
And they're right.
We wear pinstripes at home. We wear road grays. We're not doing any other thing because we're the Yankees. Go to hell, City Connect. We're not doing anything else.
I guess. Fine. You sell so many jerseys anyway. Fine. We'll live with it.
They're one of only 2 teams that hasn't done a City Connect. The other team doesn't have a city to connect to. It's the Oakland A's.
Ew.
Yeah, they don't want to.
Oh man, that would be all-time PR disaster.
Yeah. Imagine if they came out with like, we are rooted in Oakland uniforms this year.
Born in the Bay.
It's amazing that John Fisher just isn't constantly being bombarded with bags of urine just everywhere he goes.
There's no way he goes to the games, right?
I'm sure he doesn't.
No way. Absolutely no chance. What a loser. What an all-time loser.
There's only, I think, one other major league team that hasn't like substantially changed or even really tweaked their uniform set in like the last 30 years, like since the Marlins have been in existence.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Rockies.
Yeah.
And that was by design. Like the original ownership group, like, we want a timeless look like the Yankees. So we'll just do what they do, except it's purple. And we still got like the Times New Roman font on the hats. And
yeah. I like the Rockies look, though.
Yeah, I have no problem with it. It's totally fine. I miss the black vests. We want.
I was going to say that's been the one change is they've gone away from the vest.
They want a pennant in those, and then they went away from them. They also used to have a purple hat. If anybody's watched the YouTube stream, if I'm ever wearing a Rockies hat, it's the purple that they wore in like the early or mid 2000s. They need to bring that back. Like, that was the look. The purple CR lid. That was their best hat ever.
Yeah, it's a good one. I like their look. That's about all I like.
Yeah, they look fine. They don't play fine, but they look fine.
We've got our 580 Sports Talk headlines to get to here momentarily. Also, the Chiefs. Bizarre press release that came out today. If you ever thought, damn, I need to see a Hallmark Christmas movie that is filmed in part at Arrowhead Stadium, this must have been, ironically enough, like your Christmas. It's wild news. We're going to get to that a little bit later on.
Does your wife like Hallmark Christmas movies? Probably. Does your wife like the Chiefs? Perhaps. So if both of those things are true, this is among the best days of your significant other's life.
So for my wife, the answer is sort of and not at all for those two questions, respectively. My older sister, obsessive Hallmark Christmas movie fan. Like, has seen every single one of them. No one on earth has seen more Lacey Chabert movies than my older sister. She hates Travis Kelce. Can't stand the guy.
Okay.
Cannot stand the guy. If there are any cameo, and I don't know how she feels about Patrick Mahomes, if there are any player cameos in this Chiefs Christmas movie, it might be the one film she does not watch. But maybe her obsession will take her over the edge.
It might end up being Kelce.
It probably will,
because he spoke on a podcast with Bussin' with the Boys, and he said that, like, because it was recorded last week at Tight End U in Nashville, he said that he was going last weekend to London, and then he was doing some filming.
Huh.
Well, that might be it.
But also, he's on that show on FX or TNT, whatever show it is, with
he's on a show on TNT.
Yeah, with Nacy Nash.
Oh yeah, that other drama that he was going to be in.
Yeah,
with Niecy Nash. Yeah.
Nash,
Yeah.
I can't say it correctly, so I wasn't going to attempt.
I can't remember the name of the show.
I don't remember either. I totally blacked that out.
No, they're definitely going to. We'll discuss this in greater length later on in the hour. I don't want to give away the store too bad, but yeah, huge day for people who are fans of both Chiefs football and Hallmark Christmas movies.
We've also got our preview for Royals Marlins game 2 coming up. Your texts are welcome on the Top City Metal Supply text line 785-272-9429. We'd also love for you to subscribe to our YouTube channel 580 Sports Talk and hang out with us in the comment section today. All right, let's get to it. Our 580 Sports Talk headlines. First one for me, kind of a slow news day, so I'm going to go with something that resonates a little bit, I think, here in the Chiefs kingdom. Let's phrase it that way. The city of Charlotte, North Carolina has approved $800 million for the renovation of Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, aka the home of the Carolina Panthers. That stadium, by the way, is just about to turn 30 years old next year. That is not an old stadium. This is from Joe Person, who writes about the Panthers for The Athletic. The Carolina Panthers Stadium will be getting a significant upgrade in time for its 30th birthday. The Charlotte City Council approved $800 million in renovations for Bank of America Stadium Monday, a 20-year agreement bolstered by $650 million in public funding. The vote from the City Council came 3 weeks after the stadium plan was initially unveiled. Public money for improvements will come from hospitality tax funds, which must be earmarked for tourism-related projects. Renovations will also include, real quick, a state-of-the-art sound system, scoreboards and LED boards, updated bathrooms, faster escalators, and new seats throughout the stadium. Man, when I go watch a ball game, I think, damn, I would enjoy this so much more if this escalator went faster.
Get me to the bathroom quicker.
There are also plans to create gathering spaces outside the stadium. This just sounds like the Chiefs' plan. And to turn a section of the upper deck into a social patio with views of the Charlotte skyline.
AKA taking out some seats.
Yup. Ding, ding. Correct. Construction is slated to start in 2026 following a 10 to 12-month design phase. They are expected to be done by 2029.
So we should be clear with this. This was not a public vote.
No.
This was not the people of Charlotte or whatever county Charlotte is in deciding we would like to give a man who is worth $20.6 billion, David Tepper, $650 million to build a playground, to improve his little playground. No, this was city council deciding the people of Charlotte are going to do this.
Okay. So here's the detail that takes this over the top. So the council approved this expenditure by a 7-3 vote, okay? While several council members mentioned the economic impact of the stadium and team, others questioned the rushed nature of the process and whether the city should be in business with Panthers owner David Tepper, a hedge fund manager worth approximately $20.6 billion, has backed out of previous partnerships, including a deal to build a massive team headquarters in Rock Hill, South Carolina. Councilmember Malcolm Graham conceded some council members had trust issues with Tepper during the process because of the Rock Hill project and the Eastland Mall, which Tepper Sports and Entertainment planned to redevelop as Charlotte FC's headquarters. It sounds good until we get Mr. Tepper angry again, and then he might throw something at city council. The behavior of someone asking for $650 million is ridiculous.
I'm not sure if this ever got official, but I did see either it was like a topic coming up at the council meeting, but because there was talk last week that not only do they want to upgrade, they wanted a new stadium.
There had been talk about that, yeah.
I don't know if they signed an agreement or part of that agreement says they can't build a new stadium until like 2065 or something.
Yes. So there was also when this plan was unveiled recently, they had a clause in there that if the Panthers got the funding, they would not leave town.
Yeah.
There'd be a 20-year extension.
A tether, essentially, for both the Panthers and Charlotte FC, which is the MLS team that Tepper owns. The tether's only for 15 years.
Yes. Is it?
And there's a soft tether over the remaining 5.
Okay.
Yeah. Which would require Tepper's company to pay off the outstanding debt if Tepper moved either team out of Charlotte.
Okay. Look, I have a lot of thoughts about this. One, I wouldn't do it. David Tepper's trying to move them more out of Charlotte already. So I guess it's good you got this agreement for at least 15 years. I would not do business with David Tepper because he's a hothead and a lunatic. The other thing, I think, if I was on the side of we want public money to build a stadium, like if I was tasked with trying to convince a city council or a state legislature or something, I'm done with the argument that there are economic benefits. There is no proof anywhere ever that there are because you always say, well, it's going to bring in more business and people are going to come spend their money. Not to the degree that it actually helps cities. Like there are people who are professional economists who have proven time over time that's not true. And, there are jobs building it. Well, those are all temporary jobs. Those are not long-term things. If it was my job, I would totally ignore that. And I would talk about the other benefits. Like, I think there is a legitimate, real benefit to having a team, some team in your city. I think there are good things that come with it. I think there's civic pride. I think it's a good way for people to come together, to rally around a city, to express what your city is about. It opens up other sorts of opportunities like that. I think there are legitimately good things that come, obviously, from having a sports team in your city. I would be pitching that. Think of the economic benefits. For who? David Tepper? Why do I care about David Tepper's money?
Yeah. It's great for David Tepper.
Nothing for me.
He gets what he wants, but And yeah, like if you're a Panthers fan, great. You're going to go to a nicer stadium. You feel a little bit more secure that your team is going to play in your city for a long time. Like you said, like there are positives to making these deals, but I think that it is really hard to stomach a guy worth $20.6 billion coming to the public hat in hand saying, if I don't get this $650 million, you know what percentage $650 million is of $20.6 billion?
Tiny little itty bitty percentage.
I'm going to do that math real fast. So $650 million divided by $20.6 billion. That's so many dollars.
Yeah.
That's just a stupid amount of money. That is 3%. It's 3% of the man's net worth.
Which he could make up in a year, if that.
It's a rounding error.
Yeah, that's awful.
And he comes hat in hand to the city council and holds them over a barrel, and the city council decides for the public. There's no public vote here. At the very least, in Kansas City, they put it to the public. The public's like, yeah, we don't like this deal. We don't like this deal. Like, if
you had come up with a better deal, they would have voted for it.
Yeah.
That's the crazy thing. Yeah, that's my takeaway. I would never do business with David Tepper.
No.
Screw that guy.
Yeah, the David Tepper, bad guy, bad owner, like a
very
bad owner. Yeah, I wouldn't want to do business with him either. So good luck with that, Charlotte. Good luck. Hope that works out for you. First headline for me today. This is just breaking within the hour, and we're going to divorce it a bit from the playoff roundup, which will come, of course, to close out our headline segment on this slow news day Tuesday. Last night, Tennessee defeated Texas A&M to win the College World Series, concluding the college sports year 2023-24. Today, Texas A&M no longer has a coach. Jim Schlossnagle is leaving Texas A&M for Texas.
This story has so many layers.
This is being widely reported. Chip Brown of 24/7 Sports, OrangeBloods.net had it first. But
Kendall Rogers also reporting
Kendall Rogers,
now.
D1 Baseball, is confirming it as well. Jim Schlossnagle has a long-standing relationship with Texas Athletic Director Chris Del Conte. Del Conte hired Schlossnagle at TCU to be the head baseball coach there some years ago. Del Conte reportedly flew to Omaha yesterday and said he wasn't coming back to Austin without Jim Schlossnagle. That was widely rumored that was the desire of Del Conte, that he was not leaving Omaha, the site of the College World Series, without getting his new baseball coach. Before Game 3, the deciding game of the College World Series championship series, Jim Schlossnagle prematurely ended his press conference when he was asked about the possibility of taking the Texas job, saying, quote, "I think it's pretty selfish of you to ask me that question. I left my family to be the coach at Texas A&M. I took the job at Texas A&M to never take another job again, and that hasn't changed in my mind." 24 hours later, Texas A&M's baseball coach is now Texas's baseball coach.
Less than 19 hours.
Yeah.
It's been 19 hours since he said that.
Crazy.
That, can you imagine?
This is like if Nick Saban had lost the national championship game and taken the Auburn job the next day.
Yeah. I couldn't even, the thought of this locally, I can't even put together. Like, I can't even imagine, like,
Bill Self loses in the Elite Eight and then takes the K-State job the next day.
I can't even
That's not thinkable, right?
think about it. No, it's preposterous. Yeah.
And obviously baseball is different than basketball and football. There's different dollars and cents at play, but still, this is Texas and Texas A&M. This is like a blood feud that goes back generations. And now they're in the same league again.
And Texas A&M hates Texas.
Yes.
And Texas fans egg them on by saying, well, OU's our bigger rival.
Yeah, like you're not our rival.
Does that sound familiar?
It'll be the third school in 5 years for Schlossnagle, by the way. He left TCU to go be the coach of Texas A&M. He just loves moving around the state of Texas.
Clearly, that is clear.
He loves relocating within the state.
So funny. Oh my gosh. I don't really like either of these schools, so I think it's just extremely funny overall. I need to go check out TexAgs, or I need a Twitter space of A&M fans to hear the meltdown here. In the same conference, too. That is just unbelievable. Spencer, do you have a headline for us today?
Yeah, my first headline, I was actually going to ask Michael Swain about this, but didn't have enough time. The D1 Council has introduced a proposal to change transfer portal windows in football and basketball from 45 to 30 days. The governing body announced just about an hour or so ago. The vote is expected to occur in October. The current football window is 30 days in December, another 15 in April. And for basketball, the 45-day window opens after selection Sunday. They said in a tweet, quote, "Data from the first 2 years of the transfer portal windows indicate the majority of transfers enter the portal during the first 4 weeks of the window," in that statement. So it would lessen everything. And this comes after they lessened it from 60 to 45 in football last year.
30 days after selection Sunday would mean, and I got to do some math in my head real quick, you would have this year had the portal open on Tuesday, April 16th. Or you would have had until Tuesday, April 16th. If you played in the national title game, you would have 8 days to determine what your entire future is. 8 days.
That's crazy.
This is bad. I have shared this with you before. I really don't feel bad for coach. I feel bad for coaches for some reasons. Like the early signing period now, which is like the only signing day that people care about in football, at least, that stinks for coaches. That makes things really difficult. That was a bad decision by the Division I Council to have the early signing day. I don't feel bad about this. You are getting paid so much money. Figure out a way to build your roster. We might have to hold a scholarship. Okay, well then either you do or you don't.
Yeah.
I have no sympathy for that. Keep it 45 days. Give the kids an extra chance to know that they want to leave.
Yeah, I thought 45 days was a pretty good compromise.
It's also, the rule is if your coach leaves, you get 30 days from then.
Yeah.
At an individual school in the portal. Those time frames should not be the same.
No.
That is way too No, I don't like this at all. Keep it at 45. Honestly, I wouldn't have. Well, 60 is a lot. I leave it at 45. That is fine.
Yeah, like I said, I thought that was a perfectly fair compromise number. 30, I think is hard on the kids, hard on the players.
Oh, well, we have so many problems doing this. Oh, I'm sorry. Wow, that sucks. Hey, what are you getting paid?
Yes.
Yeah.
You're getting paid more than you've ever been paid before.
And the coaches I feel bad for, if we're talking Division I here, in basketball, the coaches I feel bad for are the head coach of Santa Clara. What's his name? Oh my God. Herb Sendak. I feel bad for him. I feel bad for the head coach of UMBC. I feel bad for those guys who aren't making, $1 million a year or $5 million, $10 million a year. It's harder on them. But when you hear a complaint from, like guys who are making Jimbo Fisher money in football or guys who are making Bill Self money in basketball, thankfully, Bill has complained about things, but not to like a whining and crying in front of a microphone. He's like, hey, I don't really like this, but you got to do what you got to do. The coaches who whine and moan, hell, Coach K hung it up because of these new rules.
So did Roy Williams.
So did Roy, yeah.
So did Jay Wright.
Yeah, Jay Wright could have coached for 15 more years, probably. Give me a break. You guys make so much money. You have so many things working for you. You can figure it out.
Just trying to reel back some power from the players because they have been granted so much in recent years. This is just an effort to try and reel them back in. By the increasingly irrelevant NCAA.
That's a fact. One more quick college basketball headline. Former Kansas Jayhawk MJ Rice, he is on the move again. He has left the North Carolina State program. The Raleigh native, of course, spent 1 year as a freshman with KU, transferred to North Carolina State. He, after one summer session at NC State, played very little this year, was away from the team for a long time with the Wolfpack due to personal issues. He has left the program and does not plan to return. If he wants to play next year, he will have to have a waiver approved since the portal for this year is closed. I don't know what these issues are. It sounds like he's just got some stuff to deal with and figure out whatever those issues are. I hope he figures it out, and I hope for his sake he's able to get on the court for someone at some time, but I would be surprised if it's another Power 4 program.
Yeah, at this stage, probably right. Probably time for a bit of a step back in level of play.
Meet up with former teammate Bobby Pettiford at High Point.
That makes some sense. Why not?
So.
All right, it is time to bid farewell to the playoff roundup.
It's time for the 580 Sports Talk Playoff Roundup.
For the first time in franchise history, the Florida Panthers are Stanley Cup champions. They avoid the biggest collapse in the history of sports and blowing a 3-0 lead in the Stanley Cup final. Sam Reinhart, the game-winning goal in the first period, and the Panthers hold out in the final 2 periods of play to secure a 2-1 win over the Edmonton Oilers to win Game 7 of the Stanley Cup final and hoist the cup. It remains a Stanley Cup drought for the nation of Canada and their teams in the NHL that goes back to 1993. Connor McDavid of the Oilers was named the Conn Smythe Trophy winner. There was some consternation about that because you'll note the Oilers did not win the Stanley Cup, but it is very clearly stated that the Conn Smythe Trophy is not the Stanley Cup Finals MVP, as it is in many other sports. You have an NBA Finals MVP, you have a World Series MVP. The Conn Smythe Trophy is for the playoff MVP. Yeah. And Connor McDavid had like 1 billion assists in the playoffs. Like, he was the leading scorer in the playoffs. So he won the Conn Smythe Trophy. He is the first player since Jean-Sebastian Giguère, the goaltender of the Anaheim Mighty Ducks in 2003, to win the Conn Smythe Trophy on a team that did not win the Stanley Cup. He's also the first non-goalie to win the Conn Smythe from a non-championship team. The previous 5 players who had done it were goaltenders. So the Panthers, who reached a Stanley Cup final in what I believe was their 4th year of existence, 1996, and then spent 23 years failing to barely even making the playoffs, but never getting out of the first round, have gone the last 2 years to the Stanley Cup Finals and finally hoisted the first title in franchise history. The cup got a bath in the Atlantic Ocean, and the dozens and dozens of Panther diehards were very, very happy.
They filled up one section of the stadium last night. The rest were all Oiler fans.
Yeah, it was like a neutral site championship game. The atmosphere in there was pretty wild.
I said that in the show yesterday. I said there's going to be a lot of Oilers fans there.
Yeah, and they won despite having a Canadian sing the anthem. That was crazy. Last night, I like Connor McDavid. I had otherwise no rooting interest in the game. Incredible night to be a hater. Incredible night to just hate. Either the Panthers have a historic collapse that you cannot come back from. That's you forever.
Yeah, that's like fold the franchise level collapse.
Yeah.
If you blow a 3-0 lead in the championship round. Like the Warriors still haven't gotten past blowing a 3-1 lead to the Cavaliers, and they won 3 titles after that.
Right. Or alternately, Canada still doesn't have a cup. I think that's the funnier outcome, honestly. I think that's funnier that Canada still has not won a cup. In my life, I turned 30 this year. In my entire life, no city in Canada has ever won the Stanley Cup. No team, no franchise, no nothing. And that's hilarious.
That's wild. Like,
they just don't want it enough. The people of Sunrise, Florida want the Stanley Cup and want to win more than people in Edmonton, Canada.
Even though many of them just learned what it was 6 weeks ago.
Google Maps just learned what Sunrise, Florida is, in fact.
So congratulations again to the Panthers. I'm being snarky because my rule is always, I don't care that something good happened to you. It should have happened to me instead. And if Val Nichushkin had never done cocaine in his life, the Avs would have won the Stanley Cup. I firmly believe that. By the way, Val Nichushkin scored more goals in these playoffs than Connor McDavid did.
Assists, though.
Yeah.
Points.
Yes. Games played. Those things all matter, too. Anyway,
The
congratulations.
viewing numbers were good, too.
Yeah, most watched NHL game since Game 7 of the 19 Stanley Cup Final. The Bruins and Blues, I believe, was that year.
It was a fun game.
Yes, it was. Great finish, dramatic finish. Edmonton at the end had no legs.
No, oh my God.
Like the final minute, it was physically painful watching those guys try to skate. They had no legs. They were completely gassed. Also, we did mention it, but we will include this as well. The Tennessee Volunteers, for the first time, are the national champions of college baseball. They defeated Texas A&M 6-5 in the third and deciding game of the College World Series Championship Series in Omaha last night. The most outstanding player from Hayes America, Dylan Dreiling, who homered in all 3 games of the championship series. Just a sophomore. He's going to have some major MLB draft helium next year.
I want to make sure I get this fact right. This was sent out last night by the phenomenal folks at Sports in Kansas. But this is the first time that a Kansan has been the most outstanding player of the College World Series, the Men's College World Series, since Greg Brummett in 1989 for national champion Wichita State.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. That is really, really cool. So congrats to Dylan Dreiling, to Tennessee, and to the Florida Panthers. That does it for our final playoff roundup of the year, and that does it for our 580 Sports Talk headlines. Hilarious news from Arrowhead Stadium is coming up next on 580 Sports Talk, live from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. 537 on 580 Sports Talk. I'm Brendan. He's Dan. He's Spencer. Thanks so much for hanging out with us on this Tuesday afternoon. Short show coming up tomorrow. We're on after Royals baseball. It is the series finale against the Miami Marlins. Should be the Florida Marlins. They should be wearing teal. Edgar Renteria should play for them. Jack McKeon should be on the bench.
I think he's still in the league. Like, not
No
like
way.
in the league, but I think he's still like alive. That's what I mean by that. I think Jack McKeon is still with us.
Dog, there's no way. 93 years old. Holy cow.
Yeah.
He is still alive. Do you know who he made his major league debut for?
Jack McKeon as a player?
As a player.
I do not.
He was a Kansas City Royal.
Yeah, how about that?
1973.
How about that?
Two-time NL Manager of the Year. He's also in the Padres Hall of Fame. Is he not in the Marlins Hall of Fame? Maybe Wikipedia is just not updated.
Maybe the Marlins don't have a Hall of Fame.
That I wouldn't be surprised about.
I mean, they should have it just for him. Him and Edgar Renteria.
Miguel Cabrera.
Yeah.
Dontrell Willis.
Man,
Jose
Dontrell Willis was
Fernandez.
so sick.
the late Jose Fernandez.
Jeff Conine.
Mr. Marlin. He was Mr. Marlin.
Like you go to Baseball Reference, that is his nickname.
Jeff Conine. What a
I
guy.
would put Jose in there.
Fernandez?
Yeah.
Gone too soon.
Yeah. Man, what a sad
He'd
story.
still be carving dudes to this day.
Yeah, that style would have worked in this era.
Giancarlo
awesome.
Stanton or whatever he was named back then.
Mike/Giancarlo.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He had 58 home runs in a season with the Marlins.
Yeah, they've had good players.
Who's
Yeah,
the
They
who's,
just said they don't keep good players.
who's the other guy that was there that's now somewhere else?
That does not
That
narrow it
is
down.
a big star.
Oh, yes, him. Who's a big star?
Marcelo Zuna.
I think
Christian
if
Yelich.
Marcelo Zuna
Christian
and Christian Yelich. Those two were the two
See?
people I was thinking.
They were in the same outfield together with Giancarlo Stanton. They were on the same team
And they didn't win jack.
or squad. While we're on the topic of the Marlins, you're aware that the person that owned the Marlins originally, Wayne Huizenga,
Mhm.
also owned the Florida Panthers originally.
Really?
Yes,
He owned all those teams. He owned the Dolphins.
he owned both teams. Yes, he had a lot of money. You remember where he got his money?
Urinal cakes.
No, close. No, this is something that is not useful to this day. He made his money in video stores, video rental.
What company did he own?
You can go back. This is 100% true that the Florida Panthers originally, the plan was to name them the Florida Blockbusters. There are uniforms you can find on the web that were designed for the Florida Blockbusters hockey team.
That's pretty funny. He also founded AutoNation and Waste Management and co-owned Block. Jeez, this dude had his fingers in all sorts of pies.
Oh my gosh, you can. This is so true. This is weird. I would like that logo better.
Yeah, it kind of goes crazy, doesn't it?
Yeah.
All right, hold on. I got to Florida Blockbusters hockey. I got to look this up now.
I would buy
that's
that
kinda
jersey.
nuts. That's kind of wild. Blockbusters as two words, too. At least that's how it's designed on that logo. That's kind of wild.
They came in the league at the same time as the Mighty Ducks of Anaheim.
Yeah.
You can kind of forgive Wayne Huizenga for thinking they might be cool with the idea of naming his team after a chain of video stores.
Yeah, that's true.
Hey, would you put Jose Reyes in the Marlins Hall of Fame?
Absolutely.
No, I'd put him in jail.
not. Prison.
Omar Infante.
Royal great.
They had an interesting 2012 roster. I just looked up a year to look up a roster. Mark Burley.
Yeah, 2012 was the Ozzie Guillen year.
Anibal Sanchez, Nathan Eovaldi, Steve Cishak, Brad Hand.
Man, Steve Cishak.
Keith Bell.
Yes, they spent a lot of money on a lot of those guys. And you know what they did? 1-0.
Carlos Zambrano.
They were ready to run Ozzie out of town on a rail because he had some opinions on Fidel Castro that, let's just say, weren't entirely appreciated by a swath of the fan base in Miami.
There's a reason he is back in Chicago.
Emilio Bonifacio.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
He was there.
Mel Goodface.
Logan Morrison.
Let's get to this Hallmark movie.
All right. This is
Before
from
we just start naming guys.
Mike Lowell. From the Chiefs today. This was announced earlier today. Are you ready for some football? It's game time on Hallmark Channel this holiday season when two renowned Kansas City institutions, the Kansas City Chiefs and Hallmark, team up with the NFL and Skydance Sports for a holiday movie and partnership that will have audiences everywhere cheering, touchdown! Actors including Tyler Hines, Hunter King, and Ed Begley Jr. star.
Ed Begley Jr.?
Yeah.
He's an institution.
Star in the new original movie, Holiday Touchdown, a Chiefs love story. The production begins next month and will film entirely in Kansas City, Missouri locations, including the iconic GEHA field at Arrowhead Stadium, making the first time the loudest stadium in the world has been used as a filming location in a Hallmark movie. That is so specific, it's unbelievable.
I can guarantee you're going to get cameos from Kelsey and from Mahomes.
They're going to try. What they're going to end up with, in all likelihood, is a cameo from like Creed Humphrey and like George Karlaftis.
You know who they're putting in this movie. You know what well-groomed special teamer they're putting in this movie.
Oh my God.
Wow, Harrison Butker.
I'm not touching that one.
Me neither. You can have it all, Brendan.
So,
dude, this is going to be so.
Jr., he was on St. Elsewhere. He did a Simpsons cameo. He's a legend.
He was in Better Call Saul. Meanwhile,
why is Ed Begley Jr. doing Hallmark movies? He should be above this.
The other actors given top billing for this movie include Tyler Hines, who is in movies such as 3 Wise Men and a Baby, as well as Hunter King, who is in movies like 2 Scoops of Italy. That is vaguely offensive.
I think I ordered that at the Olive Garden one.
As well as the Santa Summit. Dog, this is going to be so bad. It's unbelievable. So in this movie, Alana Higman is sure that her family's one of these people. Oh, Hunter King is a woman.
Yes.
I'm sorry. I figured Hunter was a man's name.
Did you think this was a particularly progressive Hallmark movie?
Oh. You know what? I'm gonna drop
I take it. That one wouldn't cast Harrison Butker.
I don't think so. So Alana Higman is sure that her family's lifelong history as Chiefs super fans. Oh no, not super fans. Make them a front runner to win the team's Fan of the Year contest. Derek, the director of fan engagement, is tasked with evaluating how Alana and her family stack up against the other 2 finalists. As the pair spends time together, it's clear there's a spark between them, but when her grandfather's vintage Chiefs Good Luck winter hat goes missing, she begins to doubt everything she believed about fate, destiny, and even questions her future with Derek. Unless, that is, a little Christmas magic can throw a Hail Mary.
No, this is going to suck. I can't wait to watch it. I cannot wait to watch this movie with my wife and just relentlessly pile on it for 2 hours.
It's going to be like a Mystery Science Theater experience. The film marks the ultimate celebration of a long-standing collaboration between 2 pioneering KC-based brands, officially uniting Hallmarkies and Chiefs Kingdom like never before.
I didn't know.
Hallmarkies?
Didn't know Hallmark Channel fans had a name.
Hallmarkies, guys.
Hallmarkies. With planning underway for game day activations, unique co-branded merchandise, and on-air social and digital promotion, the multifaceted partnership will engage widespread audiences both on and off the field, with more details to be announced later this year. What's more, this film will fuel the proven track record of viewership crossover between Countdown to Christmas enthusiasts and sports fans.
I don't think that's the crossover they think it is.
Nope.
I think that's wives and husbands.
All right. We need to get Hunter King on the show. If they're going to do we're going to do all this promotion, we got to get her on the show. And I'm not going to ask her a single question about this movie. I'm asking her scheme. I'm asking her, what do you do to attack the 2 high shell?
So your character is a super fan, you say?
I think you're telling.
What can you tell me about the Tyler Thigpen era?
I think you're
Who
telling
is
the world
Brody Croyle?
they won't be able to come on. They'll be like, no, we're not coming on. We heard we're not talking about the movie. Nope.
She's
Sorry.
super fan. I want her thoughts. I want her Dexter McCluster scouting report.
I was just about to say, what is Dexter McCluster's career yards per touch? I need it right now. If you don't have Pro Football Reference bookmarked, you're a fake fan.
Yeah, you're not a fan of the year if you don't remember the Todd Haley years.
This is so unbearably stupid. I cannot believe it. I give the Chiefs credit. No one has ever struck with an iron hot like the Chiefs are striking while the iron is hot right now.
Oh, 100%.
This is so unbelievably
Wait, Hunter
funny.
King's sister is Joey King. She's actually a famous actress.
Sheesh. What is she in?
Well, okay, famous might be a bit of a stretch for her too. She was in that show, The Act, where she played Gypsy Blanchard.
I don't know that show.
Oh yeah.
Had the Stockholm syndrome and killed her mom. Yeah,
Yeah.
she played Gypsy.
She was in a season of Fargo.
Yes,
She was in Dark Knight Rises, White House Down, Battle Los Angeles, The Conjuring, Independence Day Resurgence,
and an episode of American Dad.
What was she in The Dark Knight Rises?
It says she's appeared.
Anyway, that's the King family tree.
This is going to suck.
Let's go to break.
Like nothing has ever sucked before. Coming up next, we'll get you ready for Marlins versus Royals from the K here on 580 Sports Talk, live from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. Game 2 between the Royals and the Marlins from Kauffman Stadium coming up here in just a few moments. We'll have a little 580 Sports Talk overtime at the top of the hour. Royals pregame starts at 6:30. Pregame, postgame, and the game itself can be heard right here on 580 WIBW. Seth Lugo getting the call for the Royals tonight. Yanni Chirinos gets the call for the Marlins. Chirinos is making just his second start of the year. He was really bad last season. Meanwhile, Seth Lugo comes into today. Not only was he the first player in the American League to get to 10 wins, he is still second in ESPN's Cy Young predictor, only behind Emmanuel Clase, who has pitched in every game for the Guardians. Don't fact check that. That's just what it feels like.
It definitely feels that way. You got to win a series if you're the Royals.
Especially against this team.
Yeah, and really, you got to have your eye on a sweep. But you can't sweep unless you win the first two. They've got the first one checked off. Got to get a little bit more offense. Like to see him put some innings together tonight against Chirinos and the rest of the Marlins pitching staff. You back Seth Lugo to have a good outing against these guys. It's not a very imposing lineup as we saw last night. I think the Royals probably win this one and get that series win that hopefully rights their ship just a little bit. I just want to know, were we really going to slide past the Marlins series this year and not make any reference to the iconic Marlins Will Soar by Scott Stapp?
I had forgotten about it, to be honest with you.
Really?
Marlins don't soar. They're fish.
Yes, that's true. But if you keep hoping and dreaming, you will soar. Just like a marlin.
Scott, go to the zoo. Take a boat. Go deep sea fishing. They don't soar. Do they even hop out of the water?
I don't know. I've never seen a marlin. I don't know if they do like dolphin diving or like just hop up out the water like that.
My dad caught
you know what they do? Strikeouts, base hits, double plays.
Oh, I remember that line. Double plays. Tomorrow is the series finale between these two teams. The Marlins have not made their starter official yet. Brady Singer goes for the Royals.
I'm not going to enjoy watching it.
No, I'm not either. I don't know. I'm just Singer and Melendez at the start of the year for both of them. I was very ready to throw myself behind them and say, yes, they are back. I'm here for it. I'm here for them having their breakout years.
And here we are.
Singer, every single game, it feels like you're just barely getting by the skin of your teeth. It is unfortunate, really. But hey, you win both these games today and tomorrow. We're feeling good going into tomorrow's show. It'll be a short show. We'll join you after Royals baseball. So before we get there, let's wrap things up with the final word. That's coming up next on 580 Sports Talk live from the Kansas Drive to Zero studio. As our pal Jeffrey on YouTube says, let's beat these stinky fish regarding the Kansas City Royals. They'll play the Marlins coming up with first pitch at 7:10, pregame at 6:30. Before we get to that, before we get to overtime, let's get to a final word. Dan, you are first.
There's nothing more pleasurable than watching a great pitcher at work, and the Royals have one in Cole Reagans, and it was a lot of fun to watch him work last night. 11 strikeouts in 6 innings. The Marlins put together, I think, as good of an offensive game plan as you possibly could have, given their level of talent relative to Cole Reagans', and Reagans just blew through them like a hot knife through butter. It was a pleasure to watch, and the stopper performance that the Royals desperately needed after that sweep in Texas.
I would tend to agree with what all of your words there. I think that maybe although it's the Marlins, you can use this to get back on track. I think they still need to hit better with runners on base. Obviously, that's been a key for them in the negative part for going on. What are we at? 15 days?
Yeah, over 2 weeks now.
Hopefully they can hit maybe 3 for 8. I'd be happy with 3 for 8 with runners in scoring position. But hopefully we'll be talking about 2 wins when we get back on the air tomorrow.
The final word for me, I don't knock the Kansas City or Chiefs, for the hustle and trying to get as much branding and money as they possibly can. If you are unironically going to watch a touchdown Christmas or a Merry Chiefs Christmas or whatever the hell that Hallmark movie is, seek help. Call someone. Call for help. Now we're going to watch it because, as
content
sports journalists, we have to be on top of that. But if you're watching that unironically, please seek a little help. We're back tomorrow for a short show following Royals baseball. We hope to talk to Tim Fitzgerald. We'll have more college football, more Royals baseball, and a whole lot more to get to. Until then, for Spencer Dupuis, for Dan Lucero, I'm Brendan Dworzinski. This has been 580 Sports Talk. Overtime is up next.